Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan, and look, it's Austin the Day Ghost.
Oh, my glasses.
Busting the Day Ghost makes me feel good.
Ugh. Gross.
Yeah. It sounded better in my head. I don't know.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to do something about getting out of Proton Pack and going after the Day Ghost. It must be weird being a ghost and being a fan of the Ghostbusters.
So, it's funny you say that. I think the first interaction we've ever had together was on Twitter, and it was something exactly like that, where it was something about being a fan of Ghostbusters and being a ghost.
Oh, that's funny. Was it really?
Mm-hmm. This is like years and years ago now.
Yeah. And obviously, I wouldn't remember that because I didn't know who you were then. And we had lots of interactions in YouTube comments that I didn't even put together as being you until we were friends for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then occasionally you'd send me something or I'd see an old video where I'm like, oh, that was Austin. And like, I know that guy now and we're really good friends and he's on the channel all the time. That's always surreal.
Yeah, no, I bet.
Tonight we're going to watch and chat about Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is a whopping 3 years old now. And that blows my mind. I can't get my mind around that. And should be even 4 years old because this movie was put back like well over a year. It was basically finished in 2020, and it took until November of 21 to finally come out.
Yeah, no, it was a big COVID movie, and I remember this came out around Eternals because my uncle came down to visit, and he was like, "I really want to see Eternals," and I was like, "Yeah, like I've seen it. Like I really want to see Ghostbusters. Like, what if we go see that first, and then like we'll go see Eternals tomorrow?" And we did it back-to-back days. So I still remember seeing this in the theater.
Yeah, this is one of those things that kind of feels like yesterday to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we finally have
I get to crack out my cool
coming.
Ghost Trap set.
Oh, neat. What all is in that? Is Afterlife in that? Is that the newer one? Okay.
Yeah, so this is 1, 2,
Is that the one
Afterlife.
that gives you the digital code for 16? That's so good.
Because they were like, it's the complete Ghostbusters box set. And then Paul Feig was like, I made a Ghostbusters movie. And then they like slapped in a little slip of the digital code.
And like it wouldn't have cost them much more to just throw that on a disc.
But I think it was so late by the time that this happened. Like this was like, it was like about to come out, I think. So I think it was like a really like last minute, like, just slip this in.
Yeah, I wonder if there was any discussion behind the scenes with that, where it was like, I mean, there's only so many Ghostbusters movies, we could throw 16 in to pad it out, or if they were thinking, people hate that so much, we're afraid we'll sell fewer of them if we include it. Like, I wonder why it wasn't there in the first place.
My assumption was always just they went, okay, we did the reboot and it failed, and then we did like Ghostbusters 3, so let's just pretend that we skipped straight to 3. Like we didn't make anything in the middle. Like this is the complete Ghostbusters saga.
Yeah, and we'll just pretend like that other kind of travesty didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. It's like they removed the elephant in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you were gonna make a quote-unquote definitive Ninja Turtle set now, let's say, most people are not gonna cry foul if you were to include everything but the 2 Bay movies. Like you just leave those off, nobody would care. You even put in like 1 through 3 and TMNT and the new one, and very few people would even say anything about leaving 2 whole movies off.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, so Afterlife, I'll just come right out and say, and you know, those of you guys that have been with us a long time will already know my initial feelings on this movie and probably saw that review. Were you on that?
No,
review? Was that just
on
me and Connor?
I don't remember why. I think I might have been busy at the time. But because I had seen it before you guys did it, but I
couldn't remember because I know you and I have had somewhat lengthy conversations about it off camera, and so I couldn't remember if you were on that video or not. I haven't come back.
Yeah, I feel like I wasn't on a lot of the ones right then because I'm not on the Eternals one either. So it might have just been like you and Connor were reviewing new stuff, and I wasn't on that yet.
And we just weren't even really inviting you a lot. because that was just as well. That was early on when
No,
you'd
I
only been
know,
on
I'm
a
just
few months, I
joking.
think.
Hmm.
Because you're in your 4th year on the channel now, I think.
That's crazy.
Isn't that wild?
Hmm.
I don't mean for this whole video to be about time moves
About
fast, but
legacy.
it was so surreal sitting through this again, where I was like, I don't know, I feel like this just happened. But yeah, all cards on the table. This movie pissed me off in the theater. I was not happy with it, and obviously it's got its moments and there's things I really liked, but the third act was such a letdown, it kind of ruined the entire experience for me. And because of that, I've never gone back to it. I saw it the one time. I was kind of upset with it, and I think the way the original Ghostbusters coming back at the end is handled is part of the reason that I enjoyed Spider-Man No Way Home a lot more on a first viewing than I might have otherwise, because the way the other Spider-Men are handled in that was more of what I was kind of hoping for with this, where at least they're supporting characters through a decent portion of the movie and they get some things to do. Knowing what I'm getting myself into, not to say, I'm like intentionally lowering standards or whatever, but like knowing what I'm getting myself into, it's a little bit easier to hold it to its its own standards, to kind of take it on its own terms, and it's got a sequel that looks a lot more like what I wanted in the first place, that I'm actually kind of excited about, and hopefully I'm not getting my hopes up too much with that, but I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing with that. I had a much better watch this time. I can't say I love it still, but it was a different experience than I had the first time with it. And
Hmm.
so I can say I've at least dropped down to I don't hate this anymore. Like I can go that far now.
Hmm.
And I think it could be redeemed a little bit by a sequel. This is one of those kind of setup movies,
It
although
feels like a pilot now, I think.
it does. And weirdly, in some ways, it's not even as set up as I think maybe it should be, because I desperately need an aftermath scene with the new characters at the end of this. That was one of my big complaints first time out, and I still have that, where I'm like, well, at least throw us a rope and give us a sense that they're gonna keep going and there's a reason for them to keep being Ghostbusters. Like, as piloty as it is, it also feels kind of one and done. It feels like it would be really easy for them to just never come back and do anything anymore, because Gozer doesn't like set it up where, oh my god, there's all these ghosts we have to deal with now. It's just you beat that and that might be it. That might be the end. And I'm a little bit afraid that a sequel could be a little bit of getting the band together again for too long.
Hmm. Yeah, no, there was a part of me that went, this could easily just be its own thing. Like, I'm sure they will make a sequel and it will be, Ghostbusters 4. But, like, these characters don't necessarily have to come back. And obviously they did. But I definitely felt like it could have gone either way after watching this.
Yeah, and there's an after credit scene that establishes, a break in status quo that could easily bring everybody back, um with the ghost housing thing shutting down again, or breaking apart or whatever. But like, our new characters don't see that. It'd be really nice if this ended with them all going, oh crap, we got to keep going now.
So either I didn't know that scene happened, or I've forgotten, because the last two times I've rewatched this, I didn't stick through the credits.
So they
Uh,
so they have, and we'll see it here. We're about to start watching it, but the very end they do the scene in the firehouse where
and I remember them going to the firehouse.
Winston
I just didn't remember this.
is taking over again, and the last shot you get is they show the containment unit. That's the name of that, and the light goes off, and then it cuts like, oh no, the ghosts are getting out, or like something's gonna happen with the containment unit.
Interesting. The after credits scene should have been Winston with all like 8,000 ghost traps, having to empty every single one of them.
That's really funny. Or he's just lugging them up all the steps.
It's like, shh, 58,
What could possibly go wrong?
9.
Yeah, that's a good question. Where do all those ghosts go with all the traps that Egon's got in the yard?
I imagine they had to go in the containment unit, but it would have taken forever to empty them.
Well, it would have taken a while to get them there.
Mhm. They loaded the trunk.
They, I don't know. I want that scene where like an 18-wheeler pulls up and it's just filled with traps in the bag. Anyway, let's go ahead and watch the movie. It is 2 hours long, which in my mind is 15 minutes to half an hour longer than it needs to be.
Yeah, it's longer than I remembered it. Literally rewatching it the second time tonight, it ended like 8 minutes ago because it was longer than I thought it was.
Oh, oops. Yeah, it does not need to be a full 2 hours, I don't think. And I'm not saying that you couldn't make a Ghostbusters movie that, required that length, but it being as soft rebooty as it is and just kind of having the third act of the first movie, it lingers a bit in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough.
But we better get started because I'm going to say everything I have to say before we've actually started watching the movie. If you want to watch it with us, it is unfortunately not streaming with a service anywhere, which I think is kind of a mistake given that there's a new one coming out. You'd think that Sony would get that up.
When Sony's got a Netflix deal, like it's on Netflix here, I'm shocked it's not streaming.
Is it really? I had to rent it.
Yeah, like I said, they made that deal a few years ago to put all their stuff up on Netflix.
Yeah, I don't know why that's not on Netflix. The Ghostbusters movies in general are usually pretty spotty.
Mm-hmm. Weird.
On where they're at, but I would have thought it would be, on one of the big three, the Max or Paramount, or I didn't know they had a Netflix deal. So
we have the first three are on Crave here, and then this one's on Netflix.
Well, that's kind of nice that you got them all streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky duck.
I got them anyways. And
but you
I
already
got a
own them,
digital
yeah.
copy of 2016.
You own them with that awesome set.
That I've never renewed.
Yeah, because why? You haven't actually sat through that.
I haven't.
I have been threatening to make Austin do a blind commentary on that. I think that could be really funny.
It'll just be me ripping my eyes out.
Trust me, you'd rather watch it that way.
Oh, 100%.
I don't mean with your eyes ripped out, but I mean talking over it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, well, Austin, are you ready to watch it again, even though you just watched it 8 minutes ago?
And I watched it like a week ago too. Yeah, I'm ready.
So much Ghostbusters Afterlife. Well, he's ready to go. He's thoroughly prepared.
Precisely.
And you've watched the other ones recently too, so like you're really prepared.
Mm-hmm.
If this was a
cartoon.
thesis or like a college presentation you had to make, you were ready to go.
I actually contemplated making like a big Ghostbusters video because I was in such a Ghostbusters mood and I watched through all the movies. I was like, I should put this into something creative, and then I didn't. So,
ain't that always the way?
Ain't that a kick in the head?
See, you got well, you got a lot going on these days. You gotta go to school and work. And
yeah, exactly.
Whatever nonsense we're doing here. All right, folks, here we go. Ghostbusters Afterlife. Get your Blu-ray or however you want to watch it. I'm renting it on Amazon. Get a timestamp 0 and get ready to press play as soon as I say now, and we're going to do it. Here we go. Everybody, please press play right now. And I'm pretty sure the first thing we're going to hear is a theremin, right?
What's the Sony ding?
Oh, right. And then you get your theremin.
Which makes you moved.
Okay, right away, because I'm just obsessed with talking about score, I gotta ask you how you feel about the soundtrack with this movie. Do you like that it's trying to be as authentic to the original as it is?
Yeah, and I think it works pretty well. My main thing with it is that I really don't like this movie doesn't have a theme of its own. Like how the first one has the Ghostbusters theme, the second one has On Our Own, and this one just has the Ghostbusters theme.
Oh, so when you say theme, you mean you wish it had a rock theme?
Yeah, no, I wish it had like a theme, like a song made for it. Yeah.
Even if we don't hear it until the end or something. And there's a little bit of popular music in this movie, but it doesn't do that. And the popular music that's here is kind of current sounding stuff. Which is fine, because that was the stuff they had before was contemporary, but they don't have anything that sounds like a Ghostbusters song.
1 and 2 don't have soundtracks like that that sound alike. Like they both have very different soundtracks.
That's true too.
So like I like that this third one continues that and has just one of its own. Now they didn't make any music for this one like they did the first two.
Yeah, I wish they had.
that was one of my big things walking out, because this was the year of me speculating about music between what Ramones song would be in No Way Home and what the new Ghostbusters theme would be, and both of them let me down.
And then just nothing, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm mixed on it. Because I think the soundtrack, for the most part, is really good. There's some sappy stuff the third act does that I don't love.
Sure.
When it takes the ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba and has to turn that into like a big triumphant anthem. I'll love that. That was always
like
kind of a quirky comedic
too.
theme. Why did we do that?
Mm-hmm. No, that's true.
That's my only complaint about that aspect of it. But I'm on the fence about it because on the one hand, I kind of like the juxtaposition of this movie does carve out its own tone to some degree, at least until you get to the third act. And it's not, like the brand of comedy is really similar to the original Ghostbusters, but it's not a straight up comedy all the time. Like it kind of goes in and out of that a little bit. It's a little bit more subtle about that. And it's very, very atmospheric. And it's real small town Midwestern, so that immediately gives it a different feel than the big city, quirky comedy stuff in the first movie does. The brand of quote unquote horror that's here is still very authentic to what the original is, but it has a different kind of atmosphere, and I really like that. So there's a part of me that likes the juxtaposition of that with the soundtrack, but it also feels like the soundtrack is trying to do a lot of heavy lifting and constantly reminding you that what you're watching is a Ghostbusters movie, and I don't need that. I would have been okay with it not really feeling like Ghostbusters until it has to.
Okay,
because it wins me over enough on its own atmosphere, and so I'm mixed on it.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. No, I like most of that. I agree with you about the third act. Some of the music not being great there, but I mean, we'll get there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues with the third act.
And I don't mean to be a hypocrite with it. You know, it's all about feeling the way you feel and then working your way backwards and trying to understand why you feel that way. Mm-hmm. Because I complain a lot when these kinds of things, like soft reboots, full-on reboots, wait until the very end for the thing or the character to finally be what you came to see in the first place. And I'm almost advocating for this to do more of that, which is weird.
Yeah, interesting.
But I really like a lot of the new characters, and the movie is... I think the issue is the soundtrack is not from their perspective. It's not with them, it's with me, the Ghostbusters fan. Right? So when it opens with Egon, it totally makes sense that it's that music. There's a part of me that wants that soundtrack to leave entirely until our new characters become Ghostbusters.
Okay, interesting. Maybe you could have it like creep back in when you have like ghost shenanigans and stuff too.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
And it's a minor quibble.
When you're more of a score guy than I am too, so like you're gonna have more of an opinion on that than I am.
Absolutely, it just sets the tone so much for the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the soundtrack has a little bit to do with why I like the simplicity of the title.
Mm-hmm.
And holding Afterlife on the screen is nice.
Yeah, no, I do too.
I do think
I
it's
wonder
really
if the new one
that...
will be similar and then it'll freeze over or something.
Ooh, that'd be cool. I think not 3. I think Frozen Empire will be more bombastic in general. Like this is,
I think so too.
This is trying more understated. I think that movie will go, now we're Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
There's, I guess the point I was trying to make, finishing off my score rambling, is that it sets the tone for the piece, and it keeps reminding me I'm watching Ghostbusters, which makes me feel a little bit more, rush to get past these kids have to learn about all this stuff. Aspect of it. And if only it felt like a slightly different movie before they actually become Ghostbusters, I might be more with that as an idea, because I just because I know I'm watching. Obviously, you're watching a Ghostbusters movie anyway. Like you came in with that, but it makes us wait, a long time while Egon's granddaughter is learning about the technology and all of that, and figuring out all the stuff that we know already. I want to kind of be with her in her head more.
Hmm.
I feel like I could be won over on that more than I am.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Makes me impatient. That's what I'm trying to say. We got a super chat from Tom. By the way, thanks for watching live if you're doing that. Tom, $2 super chat. Sony Ghost, they don't be moved on, LOL. Get it? Because Sony has been moved.
Be moved, yeah. They should have changed it to be busted for this.
I think they've lost the be moved thing. I can't remember if that actually shows up at the end of this, but given that the movie itself is kind of with all the tribute to Harold Ramis and the teary-eyed, isn't it sad that Egon is dead stuff, the movie itself is kind of screaming, be moved.
And then be busted. And now the new one is be frozen.
I had a thought this time around that I hadn't before. And by the way, the tribute stuff, the kind of funeral of it all that I didn't care for first time out, it worked a little bit better for me on a second watch, I guess. It's still not what I wanted, and it's still too like in my face about it.
I mean, my main review for this movie is it's not really what I wanted, but like, the tribute thing goes back and forth. There's stuff that I do like, and there's stuff that I really don't.
I'm okay with the setup. For the most part, like I'm okay with this being Egon's movie now that he's dead. I'm cool with him being a ghost and being involved in stuff. Like that was always an idea with the Ghostbusters 3 going all the way back. Like there were always rumors that Bill Murray didn't want to come back unless he could be a ghost. Mm-hmm. So even one of these actors being dead and their character posthumously being a ghost, that on principle I don't have a problem with. Going all the way full tilt to making the entire climax about him and having a CG Harold Ramis like front and center that can't talk because that's going too far. All of that is really awkward to me.
So it is. So I have a weird thing with the CGI Harold Ramis, and straight up, it is awful. Like I don't like that. We should never do that.
It looks better than it has any right to, but I still don't like it.
Sure. Well, and it's also that weird thing where it's not how he looked as an old man. It's how the younger him looked, but old.
I'm sorry, real quick, because I didn't catch this before. There's a nice setup and payoff in the scene with the numbers on the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
With the dates, like every so many years, Gozer comes back, and that's immediately foreshadowing that. I didn't catch that before.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I fully caught that until this time too. You're right.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I guess we're getting the Harold Ramis of it all out of the way.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I noticed something in this scene. I should make it clear that I'm actually watching the film right now. I haven't said anything about a scene we've been watching.
No, so my thing is, I think it's awful, but like when this came out, everyone went, "Oh my god! Like look how cynical and like awful this is that Sony did this." I've always seen this as more misguided than cynical, where I think they genuinely thought they were doing a sweet thing.
I do too. I agree with that.
And it doesn't work. Like, again, it's all awful, but I think there's still quite a bit of difference between this and something like a Rogue One or The Flash, where we just kind of do it. Like, they're trying to be sweet and like they are trying to do a tribute thing, and I do genuinely believe that it meant a lot to them.
Yeah, their heart's in the right place.
The heart's in the right place. It doesn't work. It's misguided.
One of the things that makes it clear their heart's in the right place, like despite the fact that I didn't want them to do it, is I didn't know about this until I did a little research today. But Ivan Reitman was actually the body double in the last scene with the CGI Harold Ramis. So they had two different people do it. There's a different actor in the opening that's doing all the silhouette stuff with the body model, and then the mocap is done at the end with Ivan Reitman. That's kind of cool if you're gonna do it.
Hey, that's interesting. I always assumed it was the same person.
No, it's really weird that it's I guess because they wanted him to mocap the face, and they're not doing a face early on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then he passes away shortly after this, so that ends up being kind of a nice tribute to him too. That one of the last things he does is body double Harold Ramis. So like, I don't like it, but if it has to be done, they did it in the most tasteful possible way. And I think it would have been more tasteful to not put him on screen.
Well, especially because I think the part in which it is tasteful is how we handle it before that, where it's like he's like moving lamps and stuff. Like I like all that stuff,
and I don't mind the silhouette stuff at the beginning when he's still alive.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that either, because that's clearly just an actor that's shaded. So I think that's all fine. No, and my big thing with this movie, and it was what I assumed it would be going into, and it's what it was, is this movie feels like a kid who grew up on the set of Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and then got to make his own Ghostbusters movie. So, like, I think that's where a lot of the
sure,
like, kind of overly schmaltzy stuff comes from.
Yeah, and to be fair, it would be difficult for that guy to not write an emotional script.
Well, yeah,
and to be removed enough where it was more like the first film. And
well,
that was a big complaint that some people had about it, was that this isn't what some of us want from a Ghostbusters movie, because it's like the emotion of it is weighing it down too much for people.
Well, and the way he writes, like, the Egon stuff, like, it seems a lot like the way he talked about it before it came out, where you can almost see, like, him dealing with some issues he's had with his dad.
Oh yeah, good call.
Through the movie. I remember that was a big thing when it was coming out, was he was like, that was a big inspiration, was like the kind of ways in which my dad was and wasn't there for me as a kid.
Yeah, where he worries that his father doesn't care about him because he's not around enough, but then he finds out later that oh yeah, I was the most important thing to him, and he probably really regretted not being around more. By the way, all of that works really well with Phoebe. And
I think so too.
And Phoebe is the kind of character that on paper shouldn't work, and is the obvious thing we always do, where you have to have the kid or the grandkid in a decades later sequel that very often that the old lead doesn't even know they have. In this case, it is someone that at least he was aware of. But this is the other obvious thing to do, where they're estranged, right? And where that character, or at least his daughter is, but like the daughter or the granddaughter or son, grandson, would be like exactly like the original character that you know, and it somehow works with this. I think one of the reasons it doesn't come off too cartoony is that, first of all, she's just spectacular. Her performance is really good.
Oh yeah, she's really good in this movie.
She manages to make it her own while still being really Egon, and I think subtly they're not the same character. Like,
yeah, I was thinking about that earlier.
It's not exactly a carbon copy. Like, she's really interested in science like he was. She's really dry-witted, but she comes off as I don't know if this is the right way to put it, Austin, but like Egon seems like out of touch and too smart for his own good and really antisocial. She seems nearly autistic to me. Like, it's different.
No, I think that's 100% what it is.
And I don't think Egon's autistic.
No, she reminds me of like Abed from Community. Like, it's that kind of a thing. No, I think that's definitely intentional, that she's autistic coded, at least.
And I think 3 of the 4 kids are fantastic and really and drawn well enough, and are kind of like clear analogs in some ways for the original Ghostbusters, but they're their own characters enough as well. The girl that I don't know these characters' names super well yet
So we have
because like
Phoebe
I never went back
podcast.
to this.
Trevor, I think, is his name, and I don't remember the love interest's name.
She's the one that most doesn't work for me.
She's the we need four.
That's what it feels like.
And I like that it's almost a subversion, right? Like it's like we needed a fourth one, but then they swap it out in the third act, and it's like no, she's not really the fourth one. The mom is.
Well,
I
that's
do
true.
like it from that point of view, but you're right, because of that, she is the weakest one.
Yeah, because she ends up just getting possessed and doesn't actually get to be a Ghostbuster like everybody else. But she does suit up. She does get an outfit.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay, this is gonna drive me crazy. What is her name?
The love interest?
Yeah, it's Lucky.
Girl. Is what?
Lucky is her name.
Oh, I thought you said Bucky.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't think her name is said enough. I forgot that was what her name was.
I mean, I've seen this 3 times and I didn't know her name.
Okay, is that supposed to be like ironic because one of the worst things happens to her at the end?
Probably.
Okay.
But it's ironic that you're lucky you became a dog. Well, and then, of course, we also have foreshadowing with Paul Rudd, where the first thing he does is show a bunch of kids Cujo.
Cujo, yeah, no, that's great. His movie picks are really funny.
Oh, that was one of the biggest laughs in the theater for me. Was when he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna watch Cujo," especially that part when she walks in and he's like, "We got a really entertaining movie about a killer dog there." Cujo is not that entertaining.
No, it's not. Well, and then the second movie is Child's Play.
It's Child's Play 2, isn't it?
It's Child's Play 2. Yeah,
one?
he's just showing horror movies.
Yeah, no, I love that as a thing. I love that he comes in and he's like, "Ah, these kids are stupid."
Yeah, and I've always been a fan of those first 2 movies.
When he's the most out of the first 2 Ghostbusters, right? Like, well, that's where you have some of the more kind of dry, like, for lack of a better word, cynical kind of humor.
But I was just gonna say absolutely. And I think Paul Rudd like most embodies the comedic tone of that movie.
Yeah, 100%.
I also think that he and their mom have like really good romantic chemistry, and I need him to find her sympathetic at all. The movie takes some big risks. One of them, of course, is just setting this in a small town in the Midwest like it does.
You didn't even start the movie at the beginning.
Although,
sorry, go ahead.
Although I guess some people might see that as cynical and not too risky because it does seem like it's trying to do Ghostbusters a la Stranger Things.
Yes.
Definitely. So there is that. Like, is
there's
it
some Stranger Things and there's some Halloween 2018 in this, which we'll get to.
Okay, I didn't have that thought, but it's. So like I guess the question is it a risk because that's so different from Ghostbusters, or is it trying to find that formula to make it accessible to more audiences? Because I did have a little bit of that who is this movie for thing, where I think I know what the answer to that is, but I just don't think they quite stick the landing in meshing the tones, right? So like they think in doing the passing the torch thing, kind of, that it's gotta have younger characters so that kids will even bother with this, because kids now don't know what Ghostbusters is or care about that. That was a huge joke in Zombieland, and that's back in 2010.
Well, yeah, this comes up. Oh no, this is even like 2 years after Zombieland 2.
Yeah, there's been a Zombieland sequel since this.
And Bill Murray came back.
Bill Murray came back for the after credits.
Yeah. No, the thing that always hit me with this movie, with the mom, is she is just my dad's first wife, but like redeemable. And
yeah, sorry, that's where I was going with all of that. That like she could have easily been insufferable and not redeemable, and you have to have that character arc with her realizing that Egon cared about her to understand why she's so broken and not the best mom.
Mm-hmm. What I like too, because you have, and I don't think they ever come out and like paint this and be like, look, this is what it is, get it? I I like that they talk about Phoebe's dad and how he was very different from, the kind of science mold. But now that her dad's dead and she's kind of latching out for that, the person that she's attracted to is her dad.
Yeah, that's a great point. I caught that a little bit just in, she says she doesn't like nerds, but she's falling for one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's there. I'm just glad it's not like, oh my god, I'm falling for my father.
Well, they could have cast somebody.
They could have done it like really.
Yeah, they could have written a character that was basically Egon that she falls in love with, and he's not like he's. So if you're talking about analogs, each of the 4 kids is a clear analog in my mind for one of the Ghostbusters, and we can break that down in a minute if we need to. I don't know that we need to. I think that's pretty evident. With Paul, I almost said Paul Feig. Paul Feig with Paul Rudd's character. I think he's an intentional amalgam of at least a couple of them.
He's Venkman, Egon, and Louis Tully at the very least. Maybe a little bit of Ray. There's like most of the characters in him.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like he's Tully at least in
plot.
Yeah, he's serviceable to the story as Tully is at the end. Although they play him as, I don't want to say bumbling, but like they keep a little bit of his personality left in him, like they did with Louis Tully.
Yeah,
so like, when he gets possessed and he starts saying like, "I like your eyes," I'm like, I don't know who's talking right now. This is strange.
No, it really keeps the added thing that Vince Clortho is the dumb one. That's why you have Zool, Gozer, and Vince.
See, that's the reason Vince is such a big Ghostbusters fan.
I've always wondered.
He's in that movie.
Mm-hmm. He's always identified. He's like, that one dog, that's me.
Okay, so now that I know her name, I think the actress playing Lucky does a really good job. I'm not in love with this character. She's the one that I feel like is kind of least drawn, and I don't want to say she's like horribly obnoxious, but I'm not fully appreciating Trevor's obsession with her.
It's very just like teenage. Look, I found a pretty girl. I like her. And that's kind of all there is to it.
Yeah. I mean, do you buy that he keeps going after her? Because, again, it's a thing that...
I do, in that he's a teenager, and that's what teenagers do. But, like, it's not more than that. Like, it is 100% the least drawn thing in this movie.
I get the sense that on paper, it's supposed to be clearer that she is, like, either slowly reciprocating or likes him from the beginning, but is kind of being a tease. And I don't feel like that comes out well enough.
Mm-hmm. No, and it seems like she and Podcasters kind of dropped from this new one. I think they're in it, but like it doesn't look like they're going to be very big in it.
And that's unfortunate because I think there's a lot you could do with Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, so do I.
And I think he probably gets the funniest in most like random dialogue of the new characters. I like how out of touch he is.
Well, and Ray has always been my favorite Ghostbuster, so it's like Podcast. He's not my favorite of the new characters, but like I do like a lot. He's probably the funniest one.
Yeah, and again, I like the way that he's Ray without being exactly Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Where,
yeah,
like,
and I like that,
he's into all the same stuff Ray is, but he's got different ambitions, and Ray's not like he's not trying to be famous. He doesn't want to.
Dan Aykroyd.
Say it again.
So he's almost the real Dan Aykroyd instead of Ray.
That's true.
Which I like, because one of the big things is I like that we don't do like the analog game where you match everybody up at the end when we bring in the old cast.
No, we only do it with Podcast, and it's appropriate.
And it's one of the best jokes in the movie.
Yeah, it's quite good. When you go, "You're my subscriber,"
it really got good in the 43rd episode.
That's an excellent joke.
Oh, that's great.
I like that a lot. But yeah, if we have to do it just to be obvious, obviously Phoebe is Egon because she's Egon's granddaughter. One of the things that I meant to say this earlier that works really well about that is the idea that it skips a generation.
Mm-hmm.
if he had a daughter that was exactly like him, I don't think it plays as well. I think it's cool that she never knew him but ended up like him anyway, because there's always that kind of genetic question.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like that too. I like that there's only one of them. Like it's not like his grandson is also Egon.
Oh, that's a good point too. Or that like all four of them had to have kids that all got together to make a new Ghostbusters team.
And they're all Egon.
No, sorry, it's just when you said there's only one of them, I had this flash where I was like, oh, there's this really crappy version of this you could make where all four of the Ghostbusters had kids.
Yeah, no, absolutely you could.
That are all exactly like them.
There's another world where Podcast is the son of Ray.
Well, it would be like the Bill and Ted thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Where in that, did you see that third movie?
I haven't even seen the second one.
Where you take the second one's one of the most insane movies ever made. But
I know, I gotta watch it.
But you'll love that. That says you all over it. But Bill and Ted Face the Music, they each have a daughter that's just like them, and it's cute. It works for that material, especially because that's such a kind of farce. But I wouldn't want to see that with this.
Yeah, I agree.
I also don't like that movie, but that part of it worked okay. But I don't think that works here. I think
I feel like that was like one of the big like universal things everybody liked about that was they found people who two girls that were like just Bill and Ted,
and they're really likable, and they totally get it. So that was fun. Do you like that Egon lives in Bates Motel?
I've never had that thought, but you're right.
Well, I said that to Jason watching it today, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it does look like Bates Motel." And then when I was reading up on it today, they intentionally, for whatever reason, wanted this to look like the Psycho House. So like they did that on purpose.
Well, one of them's got mommy issues, one is daddy issues.
There you go.
There you go.
It'd be pretty weird if we get to the end of this and we do this really disturbing thing where Phoebe thinks she's Egon.
Oh no!
I'm glad we didn't do that. But yeah,
you like cut to the mom's childhood, and you do like the mom dialogue, but with Egon.
So we're half an hour in, and I feel like we're starting to drag a little bit. And in about 15 minutes, we're really going to get to that place where I'd like to get a little farther than this by now.
Oh, okay. So I don't really have like the dragging thing, but like, I mean, we'll see. There's definitely moments, that are filtered in where I'm like, yeah, we didn't need that.
I think part of the problem, especially retroactively, is that there's all this mystery building to just the third act of the first movie. So all of the like tension building and like exploration that happens with our characters, there's nothing new for the audience. There's no big revelation. It's just we have to let these characters get caught up to us, and I think the movie has a difficult time communicating how much of this is supposed to be us being a fly on the wall and how much of it is mystery that we're ourselves supposed to be unraveling and trying to figure out. And
how much of it is for a new audience and how much of it is for an old one.
Yeah. And I think they hedged their bets too much with that because more of the people that would be watching this movie would be fans of the original, of course. And the box office reflects that.
Yeah.
I would love to know what the percentage breakdown is. Like, how many new reviewers were actually brought in because it's the Stranger Things kid or because you do have a younger cast? I would bet money it's less than 20% of the audience for this movie.
I mean, that is possible.
I'm also fine with a younger cast in a movie that is not aimed at a younger audience. But I think to some degree it is, and I don't know that really works. And the story suffers for it a bit.
Well, we're definitely into a place now where the cartoon is kind of more important to this franchise than that first movie is, for better or worse.
Yeah. You mean
And I
just
mean,
for popularity and merchandise and
well, and just I think that's what they're emulating now more than anything.
well, and you could definitely see that with the previews for the new film.
No, exactly. Well, in this one, even doesn't it have the one toy ghost?
It has the
Uh,
three-eye ghost, yeah.
yeah, like that shoots its eye out. The overt kill ghost.
Yes. Okay, so the the cynical joke that Paul Rudd just sits back and makes his kids watch movies is really funny. But and tell me if I'm overthinking this, Austin, but I feel like this guy is a little too like happy-go-lucky. I don't know if that's the right term. Like he doesn't seem as cynical as he's acting to me. So like he has an expertise and he does care about passing it down to younger generations, but he knows they're not going to pay attention or care, so he just shows them movies. But I don't know if I'm buying that he's not trying a little harder, and I think I could if I only knew more about his background. I think all you have to do is say, here's how long he's been at this school, here's how like kind of broken down he is now, where he used to work real hard at educating the kids, and he knows that they're not going to pay any attention, or he has too much trouble with like the administration at the school that won't let him do things his way, and so he just phones it all in now. I need some information.
hmm Yeah, and that like everything you just said is kind of what I assumed was his backstory. So, like I don't necessarily know if I need them to flesh it out more because I kind of just get it from what's happening. But I can understand your argument, like in that you maybe should have.
I just need a little bit more context clues. Like,
Hmm
I don't know how much of that I can assume.
Yeah.
And it's a movie that doesn't tell me enough with several characters where I'm not fully understanding motivation that I don't trust that any of that is on purpose. In the
Fair
same
enough.
movie where we don't know who the mother of Egon's kid is, and the
hmm
same movie where Ray Stantz, and this is one of my biggest issues with this movie, where Ray Stantz doesn't believe Egon when he says the end of the world is coming. I need you to flesh those things out because you're not communicating enough to the audience.
hmm Yeah, no, the Ray thing's one of the bigger issues.
It doesn't work at all.
hmm
And so I said earlier that I like the setup okay. I I like the idea that Egon for some reason is out on his own dealing with this before he dies, but I'm not buying that the rest of that team abandons him like they do.
hmm Yeah, I wonder if there's maybe something that you could have done, like, because Ray was the one who like financed all the Ghostbusters, and if they broke down a second time, like maybe that kind of weight on him has kind of turned him into that cynical place.
Yeah,
But we didn't do anything
you
with
just
it,
got to
so
flesh it out. And that's one of
yeah.
the big places where I think there had to have been more written that was
hmm
cut. Not necessarily scenes that were shot, but just
But
script
written,
that was cut down way too much.
yeah, for sure.
Because it's almost there, but I need you to take it one step further. Ray is complaining, and that's this whole movie for me, and that's why I've dropped it down to I don't hate this anymore. Is I'm seeing more and more of what I think it was after.
Yeah.
That's just too cut down, and it's still longer than it has to be. But I think you can cut some of the draggy atmosphere stuff and give me a little bit more of the background.
hmm
You got that scene that we'll get here in a little bit where she finally calls up Ray, and Ray seems to be partly upset with Egon because he made their jobs too easy. Like they got rid of all the ghosts, and then there wasn't anything to fight anymore, and then the whole thing fell apart. But that wouldn't be all by itself a reason to not believe him when he says the world is going to end. So like I need you to just get me there.
hmm Yeah, no, definitely. Well, yeah, and you have like a giant issue too, as you kind of hinted at with Egon's wife. wife, whatever the mom's
I
mom
don't.
is.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up because we talked about this off camera. I don't understand the timeline with his family at all. When did not only who did he have a daughter with? Sorry, that thing is very loud and distracting. The setup and payoff for that thing is okay. There's some really good writing 101 stuff in this script. Like I think structurally it's fine.
Yeah, definitely.
But I was just gonna say, it's not just who was his wife, girlfriend, whoever he had a daughter with, but what exactly did he have a child? How old is this woman supposed to be? She has a 15-year-old kid, and so like she could have given birth when she was like real old, or real young, pardon me. It could have been a teenage pregnancy, I suppose.
Which is my assumption, but like there's nothing there to get that off of.
One of the things I want to really look at on this watch, Austin, is there's a date that I found perplexing on the board with all of the material relating to Egon's daughter, where he's been watching her through her whole life and chronicling all of it and putting it on a wall. And it seemed like everything on that wall was just about her. I could be wrong about that, but one of the dates on the wall was 1983. And if that pertains to his daughter, then that means that he has her before the first Ghostbusters movie.
That he just has a child in that movie.
And that we never knew about.
Maybe that's the child where they took the puppy away from him, too. Take the puppy away from my little girl.
And the dates line up better if that's the case, because this actress, what is her name? She's great.
Carrie Coon. She is Thanos' one minion in Infinity War and Endgame.
Is that who that is?
Yes.
Wow. She's really good in this. Like I said, this is a character that could have been insufferable, and like her story arc helps, but there's something endearing about her from the beginning, where like she seems like she's doing bad parenting things, but almost despite herself, where like it seems like she's not actually a bad parent. She seems like really insecure and worried that she'll maybe, become her father or be a bad parent because she had bad parents. And so when she
becoming a bad parent because of that.
Yeah, so when she says, don't be yourself, kids, like that starts with her basically giving them the opposite advice, and immediately when one of them turns on her about that, she's like, okay, fine, I'll say the opposite the rest of the movie. It's like she's really insecure as a parent.
Yeah, you can tell that she's kind of reaching out for the love that she didn't have.
But that actress is 39 or 40 when this movie is made. And obviously she could be playing, 5 or 6 years younger than that. But if that makes her about the age I am now, and that means the actor would have to be, or sorry, the character would have to be like 36 right now. If she was born the year before or the year of the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So I'm not buying her at 30. I feel like the youngest this character could possibly be is 35 or 36.
Yeah, I would assume she's probably around there.
Which means they've retconned it so that Egon has a child during Ghostbusters. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because part of the joke with him in the first place is he feels like a guy that has never been laid. And I just don't know if I buy it.
Well, if it isn't slime, he ain't getting it.
So you want it to be that?
I want her to have been born from slime.
Yeah, I like the idea that somehow he reproduced asexually. Like, I don't know how that works, but it's really funny. Because the implication in this is
Egon, half toaster.
It's almost like he didn't have, like she doesn't have a mother at all. Like, it reads almost intentional that person is never mentioned. Am I right? Is there ever a mention of a woman?
There's not. Which doesn't really bother me, but when you start to get into timelines and break that down, then yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, that's the part of it that bugs me. I mean, if she wasn't mentioned and it was clear, like if this woman was 25 or 30, and it was clear that he just got married or had a girlfriend sometime after 2, fine. But that cannot be what it is. So it's weird.
Well, and if it was Ray's kid, you would know that it's the girl from the dream scene.
Oh yeah. Well, that would be awkward. I'm kind of glad that didn't happen.
That's Podcast's mom.
Famously, Sigourney Weaver wanted in a Ghostbusters 3, so I think around when they were talking about it, like 11 or 12, she wanted it to be Oscar. She was hoping Oscar would be a Ghostbuster.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's where everybody goes. I'm glad they didn't, because I don't know. I feel like that's too cutesy. I don't know if I need Oscar to have grown up to be a Ghostbuster.
I don't love that either necessarily. I mean, you could flesh it out in such a way where it would be fine. Like if she and Venkman get married and he raises him in like a family business, then it works. But this continuity did not go that way. It says there have not been Ghostbusters in like 3 decades.
Mm-hmm. No, and I feel like the thing to do with Oscar is to do the art stuff, like her, or go a different direction entirely.
He goes into politics?
Yeah, exactly. It turns out there is a little bit of ego in him, and he becomes a conqueror.
I was just thinking he's the jerk like EPA inspector from the first movie.
Oh, Walter Peck, yeah.
He just grows up and becomes Walter Peck.
He's handing out pins as the mayor, and he's like, "Don't worry, there's no prick on this pin." And they're like, "Really?" And he's, "Yes, this pin has no prick."
Well, Walter Peck should have had a kid that grows up to be a Ghostbuster.
When he's in the cast list for the new one.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. It's going to be interesting to see what characters come back, and I hope that it's not just going to feel like a cameo parade. But
yeah,
you could do cool things with some of those characters. I think there's the potential for Oscar to even show up, given that Venkman is married to Dana Barrett.
It will be really weird if New York is frozen and we never touch base with at least Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
If not touch on that too.
I also really hope that she's not relegated to... It's fine if she's just in one scene, but I hope that it's not another mid-credit scene, because we've done it twice now. She also was in a mid-credits in 2016, and both of those scenes are awful.
Mm-hmm.
And I need her to get something nice in the next movie. Because... I just think both of those scenes are atrocious. I don't understand the context for the zapping thing with this, except just remember that scene. It makes no sense. It's really stupid.
It's entirely there for just a remember thing.
And we haven't been talking about the fan service thing a lot with this. Do you feel like some other people, because that was a big complaint with this? It's just too much. It's just every scene's got some kind of callback memberberry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's a lot of them that I don't need. The chocolate bar thing we just had, I don't need it. There's certain ones I don't care about, like who you gonna call, I think is fine.
See, I like who you're gonna call okay when we find out that we are calling a Ghostbuster. Then it's okay. In the theater, I hated it because we do a camera move and make a big deal out of it. It's like, oh God, he's going to say the thing. He's going to say the thing. And then he says the thing. And then when Ray picks up the line next, it kind of validates it. Mm-hmm. I wish we just hadn't done the camera move and we hadn't had the big...
We didn't stop to make it a thing.
It's too Marvel-esque.
Yeah.
I also don't like that it's... I also don't like that it's 40 seconds after the Twinkie.
Yeah, no, the Twinkie's a big one. Some other ones I don't mind, just how they're handled. I like the when we first see the car and the logo, I like that the light goes out, and it's...
I'm sorry, look really close at this. How many views does the video have? I want to know that.
Oh God,
I can't see it.
I can't see it
Oh, it
either.
looks like a lot.
It's like 104,000, maybe 900.
That seems like a decent amount for there to be people that don't buy that the Marshmallow Man happened. I almost want that number to be like 10,000 or something.
Nobody ever remembers ghosts exist.
Even when there's a giant that would be so well documented if that actually happened. I'm on the fence about that thing too. Like, there's a part of me that sort of likes the idea that we've kind of ignored Ghostbusters 2, that you have that one big incident, and because it was long enough ago and we kind of buried the Ghostbusters, people have just moved on, and now their kids don't know history, and so they just don't really believe in the occult anymore. It's also very Force Awakens.
It's very Force Awakens. It's also just Ghostbusters too.
But with Ghostbusters 2, it's just, what have you done for me lately? Like, they don't seem impressed by the Ghostbusters.
Well, it's that, but then it's also like, oh, you guys put on a light show. Like, that wasn't real. Like, you tricked
Oh, that's
everyone.
true. They thought they were...
Yeah. No, that's why
they thought they hoodwinked everybody. I forgot about that.
Ghostbusters 3 would be like making a thing out of it. Like, that would be part of the plot.
Okay, you know what's cool? I don't know if you know about this or if you caught this, because I didn't, but podcast calls this place they're in right now Rust City.
Yes.
And Rust City was the name they shot the movie under.
Oh, I remember that. Now that you say that, yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Because they never show up in the movie.
I thought you were going to reference Flip City, the song from Ghostbusters too.
But it's kind of cool.
Rust City.
I mean, like, nobody would know about that, but it's kind of cool they reference that the name that they shot the movie under is actually something that was in the script. Mm-hmm. Or they put it in the script because of that. Whichever way, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's a reference to that. That's cool. But I learned today, because I watched a behind-the-scenes featurette on the new movie, that this actress like insists on wearing the full weighted proton pack.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was talking about that with the one Mythbusters guy. And apparently the stick like vibrates so that you know when you're firing it. I was like, man, I want one.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Because you know Bill Murray's not wearing a fully weighted one.
No.
I'm sure none of the older guys are.
No, and they developed way more lightweight ones for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Tom put in a $2 super chat and says, Phoebe says Ghostbusters were 20 years before she was born.
That is true.
But we know how old she is. That doesn't tell me how old her mom is or when she was conceived. That's my whole thing.
Mm.
I'm hung up on it, Austin. I'm hung up. I want to know.
You're all shook up. So are you glad we didn't do Slimer and did someone like, obviously like it's the stand-in for Slimer, but like, are you glad that we did that instead?
I don't know that I have too much of a dog in that. I'm not sure. I think you might have had to contrive bringing him back too hard. Mm-hmm. Like, why would he be here?
Yeah. Well, that was just one of the things going into this was, I was like, well, Slimer is kind of the face of Ghostbusters. Like, obviously he'll be in this movie. So it was kind of surprising to me that he wasn't.
It's weird the ways in which this movie is really thoughtful and the ways in which it's kind of sloppy and stuff is not thought out at all. Because that seems like a thing that is well thought out and a decent risk, where it's like, okay, we are going to have all these memorabilias and callbacks and things. It's going to be really soft rebooty. In some ways, it is the first movie again. But on the other hand, we go out of our way to make it not about people putting together a business, because we don't want it to just be what we've done with 3 other movies before.
Well, how easy would it have been to do the Ghost, this is the movie we're watching, the Jurassic World thing, where it's like somebody making a new business and the entire movie is just like a meta joke of, like, you were rebooting Ghostbusters, isn't that funny?
Yeah. And then the exact same things happen at the end, and
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then they don't do Slimer because they don't want it to be, just what we've done in the past. But then you have a ghost that, like you said, is a little bit like Slimer.
You got Muncher. He's blue and he's got 4 arms.
This is a hard code to crack, certainly, and so I'm appreciating this movie a little bit more in just how difficult it is, to like put together and appeal to fans, but also just be a movie and all of that.
Yes. When this is the one time I imagine we don't get Slimer, and that'll never happen again.
No, I don't think so either. But on the other hand, I don't want to give it too much credit because I think it could have gone farther in not, again, just being the first movie again, and in taking even a little bit more in the way of risks. Red Letter Media, Mike there suggested that it might have been cool if when when Phoebe and these guys find all of Egon's equipment, they just try to sell it because they're in debt and Egon didn't leave them anything and just left them more debt. And I like that idea. I get why they didn't do that because, again, they're trying to make it not about a business and make it a little bit of a different movie. But then when you get to the third act and it kind of just degenerates into the third act in the first movie, I kind of throw my hands up in the air and go, well, why isn't it just that again then?
Yeah. We'll get there with the third act.
It starts to feel a little arbitrary.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Now, what you could have done with that is you have Phoebe and her mom sell all of Egon's stuff before they understand what it is. And then when you get to the third act and Gozer shows up and they need all that stuff, they have to go to all the 80s fanboys that bought it all and get them to sell it back to them, or they all come in with the proton packs. I mean, this might have been awful, but it could have been kind of funny too.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's my worry with that is just that it would be like too meta and too like, that kind of a thing. Like, I wouldn't have really liked that.
I think there's a way you could do it where it works. It also could have been too much the Spider-Man 1 thing of like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
Well, and like, I hate the first Jurassic World, and the main thing that I hate about that movie is that it's like entirely a meta, like, look, we rebooted Jurassic Park thing, and that's kind of all it has going for it.
I never really thought about it as a meta thing, but I don't disagree with you now that you say it.
Oh yeah, no, rewatch that movie with that in mind. That entire movie is just like, look, we're rebooting Jurassic Park, but audiences don't like they think that's too boring now, so we got to like bring it a step further. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but like, this sucks.
I was just blinded too much by the basic concept of finally doing a working park because I always wanted that.
Well, and that's like one of the only scenes that really works in that movie is when they do the rampage on the park. I don't know why that wasn't the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But I really like that sequence.
It's not a great movie. It doesn't hold up real well. I loved it on first viewing. I'm not gonna lie.
A lot of people did. Yeah.
It does not hold up great, and I can't explain to you why they keep making $1 billion.
Yeah, I couldn't begin to explain.
I think at this point you could put out a Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, whatever movie with
Jurassic City now.
Yeah, with Scarlett Johansson now apparently.
Possibly, yeah.
Where you could. I think you could just take a Mr. Potato Head that's dressed up as a velociraptor and have it dance around for 2 hours and it makes $1 billion. I don't think it matters what they put in the movie now.
Oh, Hail Crimson King says on Wikipedia, it says the mom was born in 1982, so before the first movie.
She would have to be.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
That's weird, yeah. Maybe she was living with her mom.
Maybe she has no mom.
I guess she was probably...
Egon immaculately conceived asexually.
I guess their excuse for it is probably that we never really get to see Egon's home life. But yeah, I don't love that either.
I really feel like it's too retconny for me.
Mm.
Now again,
No,
you
I
can make
agree.
anything
I mean,
work.
I had that even with
You could have
Creed
fleshed
with
it out a
the
little bit.
yeah.
You could show another dimension to him. Like I know he's dead now, and you can't really do flashbacks and stuff. You could give us that information somehow. You could have that woman show up, like something. You could do something.
You flash back and it's like, do you have any hobbies? I collect spores, molds, and fungus, but my daughter keeps getting into them.
You you flash back, and she keeps talking to him off camera or to a silhouette, and he never responds. He never says anything to her.
He just nods. He's like, it's like, do you have a daughter?
That makes it okay for him to break the law.
I mean, it's okay for me to run to Oklahoma with all of our equipment. Oh, yeah, this is another thing that I think comes right out of the cartoon is the Ecto-1 is a gunner seat now.
Yeah.
And they've got like the little trap RC car.
Because, see, it's got to have toy appeal because it is influenced by that show and it knows that the fan base loves the toys, but also it's trying to appeal to kids at the same time as adults.
Yeah, it's got to strike that balance.
But you know what? I'm going to give them that because...
Yeah, that's not me complaining. I'm just, that is...
I mean, I don't really know why Egon would give it that retroactively unless there were maybe one or two more missions that they went on that required that we never saw. Because that's possible, right? Like, the company continued, it just didn't flourish. So he could have made improvements to the car. Like all kinds of things could have happened. I don't buy that he would put it in being there by himself on the farm when he's got big things like make 1 million ghost traps all over the farm to worry about. I don't think he would add that while he's on the farm. That'd be stupid.
Yeah. Well, I guess, so now that we're describing this, I just had a thought. I guess Finn Wolfhard's character, I guess he's also kind of Ray, because Ray's the one that works on the car.
That's true.
So it's like you split Ray into two characters, because he's not very Venkman-y, but that's obviously gets the kind of love interest angle from Venkman.
I was gonna say he's a little Venkman-y. I guess just in that, like, he's not womanizy, but he is girl crazy, but he's also a teenage boy.
When I think of the Ecto-1, I think of Ray, because he's always working on it.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
It's chomping on his big cigar.
And also, I want to give this movie some credit for having some romance and its characters not all being kind of asexual, which is kind of ironic with Egon, but I don't take that for granted anymore. We avoid romance in big blockbusters so often these days that I really appreciate that you have two of them in this. And that's not a thing from the original Ghostbusters that we've let go by the wayside. Like, we don't have the funny womanizing character anymore. You're probably not going to do that in 2021. But I feel like, but I appreciate that, they have characters that want to fall in love and that are, and that, it's not a sexless world. I appreciate that.
I also, now that we're in an action scene, I've always appreciated this movie continues with the Ghostbusters suck at firing their proton packs.
Yeah.
And destroy everything.
And there's consequences for that. And just like with the original movie, they get in big trouble for that. They get thrown in prison, or they get thrown in jail.
Oh, yeah, you got the prison scene.
I even like the line that Ray has where he's like, I've been there before.
You're in the slammer. Yeah, I've been there myself.
I've been there. That's pretty good.
That's good.
Not all callbacks are equal, right?
Well, that's what I was saying earlier when you asked about that, is there are some that I like and some that I don't.
Yeah, I think it's... And, some people might call you hypocritical where they're like, okay, well, where do you draw the line? Well, it's case by case.
Yeah. Well, there's a big callback thing this movie doesn't do that I call foul on.
Like what?
I really don't like that this movie has generic credits and not the Ghostbusters credits. I've complained about that since this came out. I'm like very obsessed with the credits of Ghostbusters 1 and 2, where they're both credits and kind of like epilogue-y.
And you wanted this to do that too?
Yeah.
That's a great point.
To me, that's just the Ghostbusters credits.
It would be like doing a mainline Star Wars movie without a crawl. You just don't do it.
That's exactly how I feel. Yeah.
Well, and I don't love. I guess we'll just talk about this now. I don't love the title at the end. It's awkward. Why does this in 2016 both have this weird title problem where it goes, okay, we've gone through a Ghostbusters movie. The Ghostbusters are back, so we have to give you the original 80s logo like it's the beginning of the movie. But the name of your film is Ghostbusters Afterlife. They just put Ghostbusters on the screen like that's the name of the movie. Like, Afterlife should have been in that logo somewhere. It's really weird.
Mm. No, very true. Well,
it's not as weird as 16, where it's just called Ghostbusters, but then they decide it has a subtitle in the middle of the credits. The after the call thing that they just tacked on retroactively. I've never understood that. That's way stupider.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I forgot that they do that in this action scene too. This triumphant bomb, 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 bomb. I don't like it. Don't do that. That's it's inappropriate. That's not what that melody is for.
It's not action music.
It's not action music.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a place where I think this franchise is just kind of confused at this point, which is it like a comedy or is it like an action comedy thing? Because it's gone more into that direction.
And maybe that's inevitable. It certainly strikes that balance better than 16 did, but that's not saying anything. Because that movie didn't even have a script. You know what this has? This has like a basic structure. Characters have dialogue that's written down in the first place. They know what's going to happen before the cameras roll. There's even storyboarding.
Well, it's interesting too when you think about it, because I guess Gozer was just what we were gonna get anyways, because that's what that movie sets up too.
I was gonna say that. That was one of my one of the big points I wanted to make that made me crack up on this viewing, because I hadn't had that thought before. Where I was like, oh, 2016 accidentally sets this movie up, even though they're not in the same continuity. Where she's like,
about Gozer. What's Gozer? I don't know, but kids can handle that.
It's even weirder. Patty goes, "What's Zool?"
She should have done the Casper Ray cameo, where it's like, call somebody else. That was the moment that Ray became cynical and stopped believing in Egon. Was he got scared of Casper? And then he ran away. There you go.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't even think he stopped believing in ghosts. I think he stopped believing in Egon for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. I don't think it's a ghost thing. I think it's just Egon went like crazy.
Yeah, all you had to do is say there were like so few ghost sightings for so long that they like, and that Egon seemed really depressed about the Ghostbusters kind of falling apart.
Yeah,
they assume that it's in his head because like he's grasping at things and he needs there to be a big problem for them to solve.
This is going to be the thing that brings us back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, there you go. That fixes it right there.
That fixes it, yeah. Then you would buy all three of the others going, Egon, you've lost it. Like...
Mm-hmm. No, he's become scared to the point of irrational thought.
That's great. And I am convinced that something like that is in a first draft of the script.
Yeah, I wonder. That is very possible.
I think that, like, I don't love this movie. I think it is smarter than that.
Mm-hmm. No, and I don't love this movie either. I think this movie's fine. That's always been my reaction to it. It's fine.
You know what? I will finally meet you that far. With the caveat of the ending kind of sucks.
Yeah, well, I have major third act issues.
I will still go there. Although, again, it doesn't piss me off like it did. I still feel pretty vindicated in feeling like that on a first watch, but like I've gotten over it. It's sort of like my Professor X death in X3 thing. Mm-hmm. Where that made me so angry and I was livid with that franchise for a long time over it, and then Days of Future Past brought him back and that movie's really great, and so I can go back and watch X3 now and not be angry. This is getting a sequel that looks cool. Now, if the sequel sucks, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it, but
Yeah, I feel like the new one will probably be fun. I'm excited for it.
Even if the new movie is disappointing in some way, it clearly is giving these guys more to do. Because they're not just going to show up at the end and shoot their proton packs at something and leave. Like, you can just, you know that from the trailer. You've got Ray explaining occult things in an earlier scene, and then you've got Venkman saying Melnitz is in uniform. Well, those things have to be pretty spread out in the movie, so they're at least sprinkled in some.
Yeah, exactly. No, I have a whole theory that I told you about off camera, but how they'll handle that.
We'll see if you're right. Do you want to mention it, or?
I can.
Ray has a bat phone.
He does have the bat phone. He should have had a little Shakespeare statue, and he opens it, and then a Ghostbusters room opens. But yeah, my theory is that I think the old Ghostbusters will get stuck frozen into the firehouse while the new characters are out kind of dealing with the main enemy of that movie.
So when you say frozen, do you mean they can't leave, or they're actually frozen and they're stuck and they have to get thawed out?
No, the building is frozen, and for whatever reason they scientifically make it so they can keep the frozen stuff from getting into the firehouse, but they're just kind of stuck in there.
See, now that you say that, I'm kind of worried they'll do the other thing, where they'll get taken out through most of the movie by getting literally frozen.
I mean, that is possible too.
There's a big stupid continuity thing that people have talked about with this, but it bothers me. You leave in an ad lib just because you thought it was funny, and it's not even that funny, and then you contradict it with an after credit scene. I don't understand that. Ray says the firehouse is a Starbucks now. It's a throwaway thing that he made up that Danny Aykroyd made up on the day. It wasn't in the script. And then you get to the end and it's not a Starbucks. Okay. Just take it out. Why is it there?
Maybe it's just the way that it's in that sentence he said. They couldn't get it. They couldn't take it out. But...
That's not the story, though. The story is it was so funny they had to leave it in.
I gotcha.
And it's not.
I don't know.
So stop it. I mean, it's fine if you never saw the firehouse.
What would you do if at the end of this movie it's the Chinese restaurant?
I'd be like, why are you ripping off the movie that you want everyone to forget about? Why are you doing that? I think probably the sloppiest scene for exposition and just moving your story forward is the Ray Stan scene on the phone.
Yeah, and the first time I watched it, I was like, Dan Aykroyd's not even that fun in his exposition. And if there's anything that Dan Aykroyd and Ray Stantz as a character is good at, it's exposition. And I've come to a point where I'm like, he's fine enough. And I think part of that is it helps that I have the later stuff, and I think he's better in that. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if his delivery is up to what it could have been.
Well, they also give him a really awkward thing to do, right? It's not all his fault.
Yeah, and I don't mean to put the blame entirely on him. I just mean you have this guy that's really good at this.
What I'm trying to say is he's got to be both jaded and fun and lighthearted. How do you do all that at once? He's got to be jaded and angry with Egon, and then in that scene find out Egon is dead, and still play kind of whimsical. That's a tall order for a minute-and-a-half scene.
Well, and
with a lot of exposition.
That's so far removed from Ray, because Ray's the heart of the Ghostbusters, and now he has to be the cynical Ray.
Yeah. He's changed.
Right.
He's a different character now. It's a tough thing to play.
No, very true.
And it also doesn't make sense, which makes it harder to play, because you're not you're not explaining enough, again, like we were talking about earlier, of why he didn't believe in Egon and why exactly he's as angry with Egon as he is.
Hmm.
It's partly explained.
Yeah. One, Dan Aykroyd's the big magical key ingredient that's really missing in the structure of both these last two movies. Like in terms of his fingerprints on the overall movie as opposed to just being in it.
Yeah, but then there's the question of if he was writing on these now, how much of a difference would it make? You know, because like he also as a person is different now.
Mm. Oh, I'm sure they'd be like incoherent because he's crazy now. But
that's what I was gonna say is like, do you really want 70-something-year-old Dan Aykroyd writing these?
no, and
Or
I don't want that. I just mean like in terms of what I really like about the first two.
absolutely.
Like that element is just kind of not there.
Well, I don't mean to sound like, you know, I'm glad Aykroyd's here and I'm with you. I like what he has to do at the end, but I you can't have that now. That guy is not that guy anymore.
I just need Ray to show up with his bottle of Crystal Ad vodka and be like, "Hello, try my vodka, Venkman."
Hail Crimson King says we also need to remember Egon once tried to drill a hole in his head, so he was probably never completely stable.
Mm-hmm.
But that guy had a child.
Do you think he straightened her slinky? And that's why she was messed up.
If Egon had a kid, it was absolutely not like that early. It absolutely wasn't intentional.
Mm.
There's no way that guy wants children.
Maybe it's his crazy college years.
Which they were in the middle of, or like just finishing.
I mean, like when he was in college.
That's true. I guess they worked with a university, but they weren't still students.
Mm-hmm. No, because they were teachers at that point. I think. Yeah, they weren't.
No, they
were
were
at least, like,
researching.
researchers.
They were
Yeah.
researching.
So everybody complains that there's no extras in the scene.
There's a few.
Yeah, and also the point when there's no extras.
To be fair, I've complained about that as well, but there are a few.
A lot of people did.
I'll concede.
But by the point there's no extras, you can hear people screaming and running away in the background because there's a terror dog in this Walmart.
Yeah, I think part of the complaint is you rarely go to a Walmart where there's this few people, but I also don't know what time of night it is because he just got done with that date, so I think it's supposed to be like 11 or midnight, and then maybe you wouldn't have that many people in the Walmart.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. It's late at night. Again,
it's a small town.
It's a small town. Thank you. I like blank. That was like the first thing that came to mind, and then I blanked when I had to read it out. And then the other thing is, like I said, like you can hear people screaming in the background because there's a giant monster in this Walmart. Like that's the reason there's no people here.
No, I'll concede that point. But I will say, the most actual real cynical thing in this movie is the tiny Stay Puffs.
100%.
And they're cute, and I like some of the things they do where they like set themselves on fire and make themselves into s'mores.
No, I like
that's funny.
Like weird and sadistic. All that's really funny.
It's very original Ghostbusters. All of that works fine, but story-wise, you cannot tell me why this is happening.
No, I don't think they know.
Especially because they appear to be in the sequel.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is going to have anything to do with Gozers, so I have no idea why they're there.
No, that's just one of those.
It'll be really funny if somehow that makes sense, but this doesn't. If they give us a real explanation there, but they didn't here.
It's one of those things where Stay Puft is as big as Slimer in terms of being like the big recognizable face, but how do you put him back in? Because you can't. It's like this is the middle ground they found, I guess.
Yeah, and the video game ran into that problem where it had to come up with excuses to do all the big set pieces again.
Well,
And
that kind of stuff works for a video
it
game.
works better for a video game, yeah, because you want to get to play all of that.
Yeah.
In a movie, I go, well, I mean, I own this movie, I can just go watch it. Why do I
Mhm.
need to see it again? And so they counter that with, okay, you're right. This time we'll make it a bunch of tiny Stay Puffs. You've never seen that before.
And
And I
they do
go,
things that are very different than Stay Puft, but like it's very cynical for why they're in this movie.
yeah, because they want that cute thing they can merchandise.
Exactly.
And it's the porgs again.
Hmm.
Except it's way better than the porgs. That's the
Yeah.
thing is, what I have to give them with it is, and I guess this is kind of the sermon I'm preaching for this whole commentary, Austin, is every single thing that is not working for me in this movie, all of it could work. They just don't quite make it work. And some of it,
Yeah.
they get really damn close, right? With the tiny Stay Puffs, and even bringing Gozer back, making the whole third act kind of the third act, I think even all of that, I could be won over more on than I am. But with the tiny Stay Puffs, they're funny. They look really good.
Hmm.
Everything in this movie looks good.
Yeah.
Like, I can't
This
complain about
Pterodog
special
looks
effects
awesome.
with anything. It all looks good.
And the Pterodog sitting around eating all the packets of dog food is also funny.
We talked about this off camera too, but you mentioned the Pterodogs being partly done practically. I
It
really
blew my
appreciate
mind in
that.
the theater because I did not expect it.
It's really cool. So they've
Yeah.
updated it in the way they kind of need to, but like it's authentic. They feel the same.
Hmm. No, and it's a place where we've made like an effect from one of these older movies when stuff rebooting it look a lot better because
Yeah.
the CGI movement looks a lot better than the stop motion, though there's charm to that in the first movie. And then you also have the practical side that looks really good.
It doesn't make you want a Star Wars special edition for the first movie
Yeah, no.
or anything. Like it's weird just how much reverence and affection this has for the first movie, but kind of in some ways takes itself too seriously.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And I don't think it would have that as much if they decided to just not make it as much about about Egon's death.
Yeah, I mean that's like the big choice that sets off everything that both works and doesn't.
Yeah, that's it. It's awkward. Well, and I shouldn't say making it too much about Egon's death. I guess I should say making it too much about that actor.
Harold Ramis is
About
dead,
Harold,
yeah.
about Ramis. Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. Yeah, which is a place where a sequel to this could get away from that because now we're past it. We've done it.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because in some ways this feels like too much of a setup film, and in some places it's more like it's got to get certain things out of its system. Where like it needs to get the like mourning for Harold Ramis out of the way. It needs to get the mourning for Ghostbusters 3 out of the way.
Hmm.
In some ways, it feels like a giant apology for not having made a movie this whole time.
Oh, it's definitely a big apology for both that and
And 16.
2016. Yeah.
It's an apology and a funeral,
Hmm.
which makes it fascinating that it's entertaining at all. And I guess that's partly why I'm relegating this, or why I'm changing my stance from I hate this to it's okay, because
Yeah,
there's at
well,
least
'cause I
some
look at
things
something
in
like
it that are fun, and it is kind of a funeral.
yeah, and it's interesting in that way, right? Because it has that, and like I said, I think there's places in which it is heartwarming and places where they're misguided.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I
Some of that is
think
touching, especially the thing with him and his daughter, and
Mhm.
her coming to learn that he cared about her. All of that is awesome.
I think the cynical version of that, and this is where everybody unsubscribes, is Black Panther 2. It's
No,
our
I
main
totally agree with that.
it's our main actor died, so let's rush out a movie and make it a big tribute. And like we open with just recreating his death, and like some of that stuff I was genuinely really uncomfortable watching that movie with, where I couldn't believe that this was like their tribute thing that they were doing.
Yeah,
And like
The
A lot of
excuse
that
they
plays
came up
really
with for
difficult to
killing
me.
him off in continuity was really lame and kind of unbelievable.
But even like more than that, like whatever, I don't care, whatever, you know. It was the fact that they basically recreated his death on film that like really rubbed me the
You know,
wrong
I
way.
forgot about that. I
And
saw
it
that
was
the one time. I
it
forgot
was
they
the
did
fact
that.
that they recreated it with Shuri being like, "No, no, it's okay. I have the cure. Like, just give me 5 minutes. I can do it." And they're like,
Yeah.
"No, no, no, he's gone." And I'm like, "Just stop." Like the fact that this made it past the script stage is like embarrassing. But it worked for a lot of people though, and fair enough. But like, I don't know. I think the more honorable tribute was to like weigh it,
Yeah.
not rush out a
And then
movie two
and then
years later.
recast him and make a great movie with that character. That's how you honor that guy. And case by case, right? All these things are different. I'm not saying that this is a different thing. I don't think you
Yeah.
come in all these years later and recast an elderly Egon.
Hmm. Well,
I
I
don't,
just mean like
I don't think you
they
do
could have
that.
easily done exactly that, where it's like you recreate exactly how Harold Ramis died, and
Yeah.
you do some of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like we didn't do that.
But we didn't do that thing where because, a beloved actor died, we're not gonna recast that. Again, I don't think we should, but we have to make it too much about them.
Hmm. No, absolutely. Like I said, my main thing with this movie is misguided for a lot of that stuff. I like the Pit of Souls. That's cool.
Yeah, one of the things that this movie really nails from the first one and actually ramps it up a bit is the scary ghost stuff.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
the tone of that is all right. And
this scene also remembers what crossing the streams does, and later on they do not. I don't know if you had that rewatching this,
no, what do you mean?
because the whole thing with crossing the streams is it causes like the universe to explode or whatever. So they do that in the end of the movie because there's like a portal into Gozer's realm.
Yeah.
So they do that so that like blows off her universe or whatever. But in this, she's just like standing around on Earth, and they do it. That would just blow up Earth, no? At
That's
least with this,
true.
it's like this is probably like a pit into like some sort of spiritual world or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. This treats it like
That's just how
that's
you
her
kill
that's her
Gozer.
kryptonite. That's how you kill her.
They don't even shoot Gozer with the crossing the streams. They just shoot it at her house.
No, and let's talk about that for a second because first of all, it's a funny joke, but it's dumb that she uncrosses the streams.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, okay, so the thing is, I kind of love
It's
it.
so silly.
What's dumb about it for me is prior to that, it's like she doesn't remember having ever met them. So
Well, they
like,
play it like ambiguous, like kind of does.
I don't think they play it ambiguous at all. Like when
The
when
very first
she
thing they say is, "Oh, she remembers us," and she's like giving them a look where she's like,
okay, but why would you still say, "Are you a god"?
"Because reference."
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's where like it's ambiguous in that way, because then
I
she
love.
also does that. Like,
Let
she's
me say this
stupid.
though, just getting into superficial. I love what she looks like.
Yeah, I don't know why they stunt casted Gozer, but I do. I really like that
Who
too.
is she? They stunt
That's
cast?
Olivia Wilde.
Oh, that's weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because when it first happened, I was like, "Whoa, why is Olivia Wilde Gozer? That's weird."
I didn't even notice.
She looks great though.
It could have been anybody. But what I love about it is the way the energy goes through the suit,
Yeah,
through outfit. It's really cool.
I like the like shadow form Gozer has when they take out one of the Terror Dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, that stuff's really
There's
cool.
some really nice visual stuff with all of that. It's just I had a hard time appreciating any of that in the theater because I didn't want it to just be the same villain again.
Well, and that so I
From
guess
frame one, when we get Shando, I'm like, oh, okay.
well, I guess since we're talking about this,
Shandor.
yeah. Well, he's actually in this movie. He gets ripped in half.
Yeah, and it's J.K. Simmons.
He's also stunt casted. But
that one's great though. I don't know why it's J.K. Simmons, but it's hilarious.
I just like that he's like master. Just gets ripped in half.
I love that he gets super comic booky, where he's like, "Together we will rule the world," split in half.
I also like that he's just been sleeping in this thing for like hundreds of years. That's also super comic booky.
No, it's like 70 years.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
It's not actually that long.
But I mean, he's basically been alive for at least 100 years.
That's true.
Yeah. That's cool. What was I going to say?
But think about this. Think about this. He was only buried there, like, for 35 or 40 years before Egon had a kid. Apparently.
That is true. But my thing with Gozer in this movie, because I also don't like that we did Gozer, but like whatever, it's fine, I guess. I actually don't agree with the third act thing being the exact same. You obviously have like the rules are the same, like we still do the two Pterodog things, so like that setup.
It just felt that way in the theater, where it's like you got the dogs and you got the pyramid thing, and like, of course,
that's basically it though. We don't do like choose the form of the destructor. We don't do any of that. Like how we beat Gozer is completely different.
Well, I guess that's true.
The climax becomes we took one of the Pterodog's souls and we got to keep it away from Gozer. Like all of that's completely different from what they do in the original. Yeah, I've never agreed with the whole they just do the third act again. It's just that it's Gozer again.
So
the only thing that's the same.
So I will admit to but what I didn't understand was why Gozer had to go about everything exactly the same way when it failed last time, and it is dealing with the Ghostbusters again and should recognize them, but I can't tell if it does.
Well, with that, I think it's just these are the rules of Gozer. Like Gozer has to bring in the two messengers that then bring Gozer to flesh. Like that stuff's the same, but then the second we get Gozer, it's completely different.
Look, what I will admit to in the theater checking out.
And that's fair.
At this point.
I think a lot of people checked. I mean, everybody said with that Walmart scene, that is the scene where you check out, which is the scene where we start doing that.
I just checked out, and a lot of the elements are the same, even if the plot is not exactly the same. Because at that point I'm like, well, I know what's gonna happen, right? Like. Mm-hmm. They're gonna shoot the proton packs and they're gonna beat this thing and the movie's gonna be over. Like, who cares about the details? Like, who cares? Like, you're right, but who cares?
Ghostbusters, yeah.
I don't disagree with you, but I also don't care. The too many of the trappings are the same. You've still got like all these random ghosts show up and possess people and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, we do.
They also don't do enough of them.
It's not a full montage.
They wrote a bunch that they ended up not casting, or that they ended up not doing effects for. Which is kind of sad. Like, they were going to have all these
I wonder if that's a budget thing.
Maybe so. Because they were going to do all these cool, like, townspeople ghosts. And then they ended up not doing it.
They should have done that, because you have, like, the one minor, but you could have done, like, bunch.
There's a whole list of them that they didn't do.
Oh, that sounds really cool. But then we're also complaining that it's not enough, like the original. Like it's that line, right?
Where's the balance? And all I can say is they didn't quite find it. So
exactly.
I don't know how to explain that except calling it like I'm seeing it, and I'm gonna be contradictory. I'm gonna be a hypocrite on it.
Yeah. Look, all we know is you don't want us exposing ourselves. As hypocrites.
My hope, and what I think will probably happen, is I'll walk out of the new one going, why didn't they just make that in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, my hope is just that I like that movie, and I already like this movie fine, so it's like, there we go. There's more Ghostbusters for me to enjoy. It's not what I want anymore, but whatever. I like it fine enough.
Well, and I think in the theater I was also really frustrated because the very last frame is where I wished the movie had started. Mm-hmm. After the credits, where Like, Winston walks in and decides to buy the firehouse and start up Ghostbusters anymore. Why couldn't that have been the beginning of the film? Why couldn't that have been the movie?
Yeah. And I mean, I definitely have the like I don't need Winston to still be here thing.
Oh, sure. That's fair.
But
But I like the idea of him as like the grandfather of the Ghostbusters, or like one of them, where it's like he's gonna get the whole thing started, and then maybe he's around as like a Zordon occasionally, but he doesn't have to do a lot.
see, and that's just I don't know, like to me that's Ray. Like Winston's just so not that character that like it's hard for me to go there. I need to read the comics because I know that you like the comics and like they brought they brought up Winston to be your favorite character, and I don't have that. True. So like I gotta read that.
Well, but sorry, I guess what I'm saying is I don't really care which of them it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and for me, it's just because it's just the first two movies for me. Like Ray is just Ray. Winston's just the employee. Like I don't even necessarily need him to be in Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, because in the comics they do all the stuff with his military background that was supposed to be in the first movie.
Oh, okay.
And it's great.
I really want to read that stuff. None of it's in print because they lost the license.
I know.
I'm sure Dark Horse will print it eventually.
Yeah, I hope they do. And that sucks for Eric Burnham, but he's getting to do some Ninja Turtle stuff now.
Yeah, I am excited to see what Dark Horse does with it. I'm glad they're not.
And I'm sure the tone will be real different.
I'm sure it will.
Because those read a little bit all ages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't even know yet what they're going to do with it because all they've done is they started a prequel comic for the new movie.
Oh, okay. I haven't looked into any of that.
Yeah, it's called like Ghostbusters Back in Town, I think.
The comics are also the reason that I'm excited about Janine in uniform.
Mm-hmm. Did they do that in the comics?
Yeah, there's a whole. So they do this big arc where there's multiple Ghostbusters teams, and like the main four get trapped in another dimension, and the other like regional teams have to take up the slack, and she ends up leading one of those and goes out on missions, and that arc is great. And so there are people that are like, I had this argument with my wife today, where she's like, I don't really need Janine to be a Ghostbuster. Like, why does everybody have to be a Ghostbuster? I'm like, yeah, but I've seen that done really well now, and I kind of want that.
Yeah, because I have like a similar thing with Janine that I do with Winston, but also she's got like a connection to Egon, so like I can maybe appreciate that a little bit more.
Okay, I don't like the Stay Puft Marshmallow thing on the wall because I'm like, are the marshmallows that popular that somebody would do a graffiti image on a wall in a small town?
Was that graffiti? I thought it was just like an ad.
It was graffiti or chalk, but it was hand drawn.
Okay, so I just assumed that was an advertisement. So I don't know. Somebody's a really big fan of the fact
the first Ghostbusters movie. Okay,
yeah. And that's weird. They would put the logo next to it if it was like a graffiti.
Now I am with you that you don't want to get too insanely meta with this. You kind of blew my mind with the Jurassic World thing. I'm with you on that. Retroactively, I liked it initially, but I do like that there's a little bit of it, but that it's subtle enough with Paul Rudd's character.
Yeah. No, and I'm cool with the meta thing. It can't be all you have, which is what it is with Jurassic World.
Yeah.
So like when you were saying that with like you could have done this for the plot of this movie, and I was like, I don't know, but it was because it sounded like that would just be the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, and you got to be careful that that's not the movie. I would do it as kind of a throwaway gag, but
yeah.
But I like that you've got it in one character with this.
Mm-hmm.
Where Paul Rudd's kind of like the 80s Ghostbusters kid. He's like, ooh, a trap. You know, like he had the toys when he was a kid. Like, I like that.
Yeah, and he immediately wants to mess with it.
Because he's the right age.
Mm-hmm. And because science is the punk rock of academia. Thank you. Oh, there was a flaming skull from Doom in the background.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
I almost said Dune.
Even the street breaking away looks pretty good.
It does, yeah. It reminds me a little bit of Hellboy 2019, but yeah.
I don't think and there's that
There's
eye
the
creature.
Overkill ghost, yeah.
Um, I don't think this movie gets enough credit for being as cheap to make as it is and looking as good as it does. Because, like, as much as I don't love this movie, I've really got to give it that for budget constraints. Because we complain all like I can't remember the last time, Austin, with a big budget blockbuster I said it all looks good, it's all consistent. And this movie is made on less money than any of those.
Hmm. Yeah, this is 100 million, which is still a lot, but it's
No,
not.
70.
Oh, 70. Sorry, I thought you said 100. I thought you told me 100 earlier. Okay. No,
No,
absolutely.
it costs like, what did Joker cost? Wasn't it around then?
I want to say like 50.
Like, yeah, it's made
Deadpool's
for not
50.
much more than Joker, and that's not a special effects picture.
Mhm. That is crazy.
Though we haven't talked
It's like
about this.
moments where like I'm like, okay, she's on a green screen right now, but
Sure.
like, uh, it's not the entire movie. This is also, I think you can tell in places, a COVID movie. There are
Yeah, but
movies that weather that a little bit better.
it masks it well enough, and I think it also gets away with some cheapness because it's trying to do some of the same like charming effects that the original movie did, or making things that look kind of like those effects. So it just it's all pretty seamless to me. I like all of the like hand-drawn looking ghost effects. I'm sure they're not actually hand-drawn, but they look like that, like with the first movie.
Mhm.
And so it can get away with a lot of stuff like that because it's got so much reverence for that kind of filmmaking.
Yeah, for sure. And it doesn't have that like gross, like oversaturated look that
16
2016.
has?
Yeah. No, exactly. And the ghosts aren't like neon like in that movie.
They look like they were bought at Spencer's Gifts.
Hmm. Exactly. And we got practical pterodogs, which makes me happy.
Yeah, no, that's great. I cannot complain about the look of this movie.
No, it looks really good. And that was one of the things that was like not fully winning me over on the Gozer thing, but like in the theater I was like, oh, but like I like how a lot of this looks. And I do think there is genuine tension with Gozer, like in that last scene where Phoebe's distracting Gozer.
Sure. No, I think so too.
Mhm.
I also was a little bit, when I first saw this, too hard on the ending for losing the new characters. I do think that's a problem, but on rewatch, they don't disappear as hard as I remembered it.
No, they kind of all come together. They like all do their thing. It's not exactly the old cast comes in and saves the day, but
It
they all
feels
have to
like
come
that on a
together.
first viewing, and then when I'm really paying attention to the plot, I'm like, okay, technically that's not what's happening, but if you turn the sound off, it feels that way.
No, they try to, but then they get their asses kicked.
No, and that's great. That's exactly what should happen.
It's very Ghostbusters, and I like the bit where it's like, this is more painful than I remember.
There's stuff that's
Uh,
too distracting, so I don't appreciate that on a first viewing. Like, and everybody complains about this, but the original Ghostbusters, after Ray complains that Egon took everything, show up with proton packs. I don't know where they got them.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the first thing. And the second thing, you can make up something. I don't care. They haven't thought it out, and I wish they had. The second thing is, Ghost Egon is there just to make the audience teary-eyed because he doesn't accomplish anything. Like, what Egon needed to do, he's done already. The ghost doesn't need to show up and do anything. He doesn't need to guide Phoebe's hands, okay? She can handle the proton pack. Stop it.
Do you think you maybe could have had like a moment where you see like a ghost hand lift the proton pack and that's all you get?
That would have been enough for me. Personally, I don't even need that. But if you gotta have something,
I'm just asking because
sure, do that. And if you're gonna have Ghost Egon full on show up, Let him accidentally get sucked into a trap or
I was
something.
gonna mention that. Yeah, he's really lucky that didn't happen.
Because he's a, what do you call it, a ghost?
Mhm. Well, it turns out there was exactly enough ghosts above them for the traps, so he was that one too many.
I also wondered if being a specter, and I didn't need this, this would have been awful to see. I'm just asking questions. Because I wouldn't want to see Ghost Egon, like CG Ghost Egon, in a big fist fight with Gozer. But
That was my joke when this was coming out, was they were gonna do a CGI Egon and he would fist fight Gozer. So when I watched this climax, I was like, well, I mean, it was way better than what I was saying.
see, the big question I had is his being a specter. Couldn't he fight Gozer on Gozer's own plane? It is kind of weird that he's just helping with a proton pack. He is a ghost.
I would think probably not, because Gozer's not like a ghost. Gozer's like a demon. It's like Gozer's like like is like a Lovecraftian god.
Okay, yeah, and they explain all that in the first movie, but I always remember it wrong because they're the Ghostbusters, and their big arch nemesis is not a ghost.
The main villains in these movies are never ghosts. Yeah. And this is the only time we ever beat the main villain with the ghost traps.
Oh, that's true. Is the painting guy in 2 not a ghost?
No, because he's also like a demon.
Oh, that's true. He's a demon guy. Because he's Carpathian or whatever.
Yeah. When Gozer is a Gozerian.
The Gozerian.
It's one of my favorite little bits in that. The humanity.
I do think I like the way we flesh out how Gozer came to be in the first place, where you've got this guy from a small town that leads this messed up cult that worships it. Like, I like all that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, some of that comes from the first movie because, like Shandor was a thing, but we fleshed it out a little bit with Dez.
Yeah. Well, that's something, even if you didn't do Gozer, you could have done with the main villain of this movie.
Absolutely.
I don't think anyone would have cried foul at that.
No, and none of this is too retconny except for Egon had a kid in 1983. That's the only really, going too far retcon thing for me.
I like that Gozer is so evil, but even in being that evil, she still has to stop to pet her dogs now and then. They keep doing shots of her, like, petting them and, like, scratching their chin.
Did you notice that the mini Stay Puffs all had a different reaction to seeing the Ghostbusters?
I didn't know.
One of them was like Home Alone and had his hands on his face, like, and another one was, like, smiling and happy to see them. Like, they all had different expressions.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, yeah, he does say, I think she remembers this, but I don't buy that. Or is she taunting them when she says, "Are you a god?" Maybe that's what it's supposed to be.
Like I said, I think it's played vague.
She should make Ray choose the form of the Destructor again, just to mess with him.
Choose my form, Ray.
And then maybe just not even do it or something.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they didn't go to choose the form of the Destructor because they do it in the remake.
They do it in 16.
Though it's not Gozer.
And then the form is the logo.
Yeah.
Which
and they shoot him in the junk.
Which is the dumbest thing.
And they do a giant Stay Puff balloon.
Yeah, that just falls on top of people.
And reacts despite being a balloon.
Well, maybe it was a ghost that possessed a balloon.
Oh, maybe.
That was the assumption I made.
She's uncrossing the streams.
So again, I was checked out because I didn't like the original Ghostbusters just show up to save the day like this. Giving it a little bit more of a chance on a second viewing, nearly everything they get to say and do is on point.
Oh, they're really funny, and
they're
I
not
think
here very long, but it works. It's quite good.
No, and I think Like Bill Murray even looks happy to be here. Like I think they all just step back into those roles.
Bill Murray jumps right back into it.
This part where he's like talking to her while they're on the ground is very Ghostbusters too.
So he said that he really liked Reitman's script and thought it worked, and I believe him, and I get the sense that that's why he actually steps up and does the job here. Is that he actually liked the material, and also it's even easier to like this material after 16, where he has to pretend like he's okay with everything that's happening, and he won't even bother to stand up in a scene.
Although he did walk in and Gozer zapped him to the ground so he could sit down.
Okay,
but he is
that's
standing
fair.
through most of that scene.
Look, he's getting old.
I'm just
maybe
joking
he has
now.
maybe he has really crap knees and he just has a hard time standing in scenes.
He's not sitting down in any of his footage of the new one.
Well, they probably just put in the scenes where he's not sitting down, and the rest of the movie he'll be sitting down.
He'll have like 35 minutes of sitting screen time too.
There's one bit I really like about Ghost Egon, and that's
when they all react to him.
I was gonna say specifically a Zedmore.
Oh, okay.
His reaction is hilarious.
He's got that like scared look.
Yeah, where he's just like really confused.
He's like,
yeah, that's such a good face. I love that.
That is classic.
It's really good. Where he just keeps looking over it. It's so good. They could have lingered on that shot even a couple more seconds, I think. It's really good. That's one of my favorite parts.
Gozer is Sith Lightning now.
Well, I mean, they are just making Force Awakens.
Yeah, fair enough.
But, you know, like, I'm comparing it unfavorably to No Way Home, going, why couldn't the Ghostbusters have been in a little bit more of this and been supporting characters? I have to compare it favorably to Force Awakens, where at least it's not Luke Skywalker shows up at the end to make a facial expression, and then the next movie he's out of character and not Luke Skywalker. Like, at least it's not bad.
And if we're going to play the No Way Home game, we didn't introduce them one by one where we paused for applause as each one of them walked in.
No, they didn't do that.
And I like their material more than I like both Spider-Man stuff in that movie. Like, they're there longer, but I don't really like anything they have to say.
Look, I couldn't appreciate the material because I was mad at the movie, okay? On another watch, you're right. And on multiple viewings with No Way Home, I don't like that material as well. It's true. The CG, like, I have to give credit where it's due. The CG on Ghost Egon is spectacular. I mean, it looks really, really good.
The CGI does look good, yeah. It probably helps that he's, like, translucent and not just, like, a CGI person fully.
Yeah, well, that eliminates the uncanny valley, because he looks like he would if that was the actual actor.
Yeah.
In ghost form, I think. Or at least close enough. I mean, it's really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if Harold Ramis were still here and was a ghost.
Yeah, well, like if Bill Murray showed up and he was a ghost, but it was actually mocapping Bill Murray, that's what it would look like.
No, you are right about that.
It's great.
This is one of those, this is just here for a reference. We already set up that the ghost traps suck the demon dog spirit out of them. And the reason they became stone in the original is because they, like, exploded.
Yeah.
Like, this is just here for reference and isn't even playing by its own rules.
That's such a good point. I also feel like his girlfriend becomes a terror dog just to give her something to do. Like, they don't know what to do with that character.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. My thought of it was just, we need to give the mom something to do, but... So I guess I looked at it more optimistically, but no, you are right. It's got to go to somebody.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be both.
Well, and it is both, yeah.
It's both. She's the one character I feel like you could eliminate and you wouldn't lose anything, except that your your main new male kid wouldn't have a love interest, but you could give him somebody that's not going to be a Ghostbuster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like make it more of a Dana Barrett.
Yeah. You're my subscriber is one of if not the funniest jokes in the movie.
And that moment's genuinely cute.
Yeah, no, it's great. And like you almost want to see them pal around. Like
yeah.
That one little moment with them, I'm buying that as a duo that would work.
Mm-hmm. That can spin off to its own sitcom.
I would watch that. I'm fine with that.
Ray and podcast, and it's like those like new horror movies where it's all like a desktop screen. Like it's just that. Like it's just their podcast.
Yeah, and if it aired on NBC or something, that's what it would be called. They would have no imagination. It would just be called Ray and Podcast.
Podcast and Ray.
Podcast and Ray.
Yeah, no, that's exactly.
I also love
called.
that we never find out what that kid's actual name is.
No, he just podcast.
He doesn't have parents. There's like.
No, neither does the girl. Neither of them have parents.
Where is he supposed to be?
You know what the weirdest thing is, Cap, about that?
What's that?
Podcast actually has his own kid already that he had like 5 years ago.
Oh, is that right? And then
yeah.
Retroactively 30 years from now, we're gonna find out about that?
Yeah.
When he dies and is a ghost?
My father was 5 years old when I was born. I miss him.
Hail Crimson King, the look on her face when she says I read as a hint of anger that she remembers them. He's talking about Gozer. It also is almost a sneer of recognition, which is why she asked the question again. Yeah, I think I'm going to concede that point now. I think you guys are right about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's got like a look.
On this viewing, I had a different read on her saying, choose the form of, or not choose the form, she doesn't say that. When she says, are you a god? That read sarcastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm with you on it. I think
we're all gods.
I think it's better than I thought it was. Again, I'm to a it's fine place now.
No, I like this movie.
I can watch this and not scream. I'm excited about that.
But it's like a perfect 3.5 out of 5 for me. Like it's fine. I like it. I wish it had its own theme.
Yeah, and I mean,
and the Ghostbusters credits. These are so generic. Like this could have been like the Amazing 2 credits. Like it looks close enough to that.
Yeah, and it has that 2016
so
problem.
generic.
It has that 2016 problem, right? We're making too big of a deal out of the technology, and I like that the movie itself doesn't do that. But here it's like, here's all the schematics. I'm like, okay, now you're just being Star Trek Discovery. Stop it, freaking stop it.
Oh yeah, so at the beginning, or like in one of the classroom scenes, I mentioned this movie's also Halloween 2018.
Yeah, what were you talking about with that?
The big thing is that Egon went off on his own and built a big house that is just a trap for the main villain that he knows will return one day.
Oh, okay.
And the climax becomes get the main villain to the house so that we can trap them.
Wow, that's a great point. So I'm not going to complain that they're using the Ghostbusters theme because it's Ghostbusters. Of course, that's going to be there, but it should have its own theme. Like, put that somewhere.
Well, I want what Ghostbusters 2 does, where you start with your theme and then it... Or... No. Sorry, I mixed it up. You start with the Ghostbusters theme and then it transitions into its own theme.
Yeah, no. Now, it might not have been appropriate to put this theme right at the beginning where, again, your protagonists don't even know that they're connected to Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it wouldn't work there.
I hate this. I hate it so much.
I like the idea that he marked each card so that he could know which one's which. But that's the only thing that's funny.
That seems like what he would do, but like, why is he even allowing himself to be hooked up to this? Why would she think to do this? Why would he even admit to his wife that he's done this to people?
I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm fine, like, he's been married to her for a long time. It probably came up at some point, but...
Okay, sure. But the idea that they would get the shocking machine and
The
sit
fact that they
down
would
and
do
do
this is
it,
very silly. Yeah,
like you would
No,
have to know
it's
there's
stupid.
cameras rolling and that this is a callback to a movie you were in.
Mm-hmm. Sigourney Weaver looks great though.
She sure does. It'd be really cool if we gave her something
It's
else to do.
Well,
And
it's
even if
also
she's not in the
funny
movie
'cause-
proper, if she has to be in a mid credits, just you can do literally anything else.
Mhm. No, it is also funny that Bill Murray looks way older than she does.
No, she's aged super gracefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now that Bill Murray has him, but he definitely looks older. I mean, he might be older in real life. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure about that.
There's a guy in this movie named Zach, played by Billy Bragg. Josh Gad was Muncher?
That
I
mid
didn't know that.
I'm gonna go this far. That mid credit scene is like a late DCEU one or a like Sony Venomverse one. Like it's that bad.
You know what it needs, Cap?
It's as bad as the ones in 2016.
You know what it needs?
What's that?
Bill Murray's like, okay, stop shocking me, and she's like, okay, and then you get, and then Wonder Woman walks in, and then she zaps someone.
Oh, you mean she needs to have a lasso of truth, and Bill Murray just starts like telling her things he would never tell her, and then we do a big reveal where she's got a lasso around him.
Yeah, and then she smiles at the camera and zaps him.
It's the lasso of zapping.
Yeah. Well, no, because he's still in the thing. Like, he's still in that zapper.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like, this is just adding on to that scene that's already there.
Dan's Den held up better on a rewatch, that's for sure. Still don't love it, but it's not as unforgivable as I once considered. That's my updated review. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. I feel that.
I had to get some distance from it, and I had to have a little bit more goodwill for the franchise moving forward because I think, like, I didn't think it was unsalvageable walking out, but like it looks like it might have started a cool franchise. But even if that second movie sucks, I'm not gonna come back and be like, never mind, everything I hated about this still stands. Like, I'm conceding on some things.
When I think I said this to you when this came out, and I walked out like, oh, it was pretty good, I liked it, and you were like, I loathed that movie. I was like, most of what we're saying is the same thing. I think I came in with really, really low standards, or not standards,
expectations.
But like expectations, and I was like I said, I thought the Ghost Egon thing at the end was going to be way worse than what it was in the movie,
and I didn't even know they were doing it.
Yeah, and you came in where some of that stuff bothered you more, and it bothered me still quite a bit, but not as much as I expected it to.
Yeah, expectations really cloud your judgment with that stuff, obviously. There's no way around it. That's everybody.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly.
And so, yeah, I had stronger feelings about it, even though we were saying the same things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. And I don't know, I'm excited for the new one.
You know what some of it was, too? I could see a fan's reaction to this being, like, going in two completely opposite directions after seeing 2016. Because you didn't see 16.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was two disappointments with this franchise in a row.
Mm-hmm.
For some other fans, I could see it being, this movie seems way better than it even is because 16 was so bad.
And I think a lot of people had that because there was a lot of like, oh my god, this movie is fantastic, and I wouldn't go that far. But,
I was so skeptical of this even being made when it was, because I always thought after 16 you should wait a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I don't necessarily have that, but part of that's also I didn't watch it, so like, why do I have to be punished?
yeah, no, absolutely. But I was like, I don't know, I don't need this that fast. And if you're gonna do it that fast, and I realize it came out 5 years later. To be fair, it was supposed to come out 3.5 years later. But if you gotta rush it out, it's so that you can get these guys in a movie before we've lost them all, and while they're still working and want to do it. And if you're gonna, my feeling at the time, Austin, was if you're gonna do it, they should be more of the driving force of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm easing up on that a little bit now. But again, I think part of that is because we've got a new one coming where clearly they get more to do. And so I'm not as frustrated about it because I thought this might be the last time we saw them. But any way you slice it, they still handled it better than Star Wars did because at least they all get to be in scenes together. Star Wars made a whole trilogy where they never put the original 3 main characters in a scene together. This at least didn't do that. It waited too long where one of them was dead, but besides that...
Yeah, the only one that's not with the rest is Janine.
And then they made an entire movie that apologizes for the fact that they waited that long to make a movie after he died.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Star Wars made no such apology.
Yeah, well, now in the new one we have Janine as the 4th original Ghostbuster, I guess.
And I'm fine with that.
And we have a new villain now, and he looks really cool.
Yeah, and they're doing something completely different from anything we've seen before.
Yeah, they're doing The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
I never expected that.
No, it's all real off the beaten path and kind of counterintuitive, but I kind of like that about it. I mean, again, we'll see how it is, but and it looks like even a lot more cartoon show than this does, like a lot more real Ghostbusters. But I don't dislike that on principle.
Mm-hmm. No, I saw a clip the other day where it was, I think.
This is stupid, though. Can we agree on that?
I forgot about this.
That you're gonna show a deleted scene that didn't make the first movie, so that we'll understand the reference you're making. Okay.
Take it anyways. I got another one at home, just like I have a daughter at home.
So yeah, you got to show us that because we won't understand the reference because that scene wasn't even in that movie. Okay.
I forgot about this.
That's freaking weird, right?
It is weird, yeah. That's very the fuzzy dice thing in the Millennium Falcon being super important.
This is even worse because that was never in the movie.
Deleted scene, yeah. No, I know.
You see how it's not a Starbucks?
Point to be there?
I don't know.
She was just like fiddling with it at the beginning of the scene. It's not important.
Yeah, who cares?
She was just playing with a coin, like.
And if you do that for a super deep pull for like fans that saw the deleted scene, they'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. They even know about that." But then they showed us the scene, so now it's not cool for anyone.
Yeah, that's dumb. What a baffling choice. And why is the scene so long?
Yeah, you know what we need to do? We need to stop having after credit scenes and things.
You know what the
So this is what I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
It's blinking red. There's something in it.
Well, and it's making a boiling noise.
Yeah. Like I was remembering it wrong. I thought it was like maybe something is gonna come out of it. Yeah, and then that's weird. Like they just flash up the one of the mini Stay Pops in the logo, and then it's gone. And I'm like, why? You know what? I'm convinced of something. Ghost Corps has one job, and that is to make the credits, and they made them terrible in both of the last, in this and 16.
What the hell was that?
That's what I'm saying. It's so stupid.
Oh my god.
Do you see why I used to hate this movie?
That was like a Tyler Durden addition to this movie. Why did that happen?
Why is there subliminal messaging at the end? That's like, go buy toys of the mini Stay Puffs.
Put in a shot of his Stay Puff. Why was that there?
I'm so glad you didn't watch it all the way to the end of the credits today. And then I got to watch your reaction to that.
Oh my god, that was funny.
I
That would be
watched it.
laughing
I
than the
watched it all
joke.
the way there with Jason today, and he didn't know about that. He just looked at me. He was like, "Dad, what was that?"
Yeah, what's the point of that?
That's the most cynical thing in the movie, right? Like, here's the
Oh, my
branding.
jaw hurts after that. Yes, 100% it is.
You know what the end of Frozen Empire is going to have, right?
The Frozen Man, like in the logo,
Okay, maybe, but I was going to say it's going to be that again, but he's going to be holding two fingers up.
or it'll flash to him, like it'll be the Frozen guy, then the mini Stay Puft, then Slimer, and then Slimer will look out, go like that, and then lick the camera.
See, nothing surprises me anymore. Like, that's a very specific prediction, but I think it's possible.
Hmm. Exactly.
Well, Austin, this was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be.
It was a good time.
I did this as an obligatory thing because I was like, well, I need to rewatch that. I only saw it the one time, and I'm excited about Frozen Empire. So,
Yeah, Cap is very like, well, yeah, let's do Afterlife, I guess, because
yeah,
I'm
I said
excited
it just like that.
for Frozen. Yeah, you're right. You are. It was like, I lost my ghost again. Well, I guess we're gonna watch Afterlife.
Yeah, I was like, the only way I'm watching this is for content, you
And I
know.
was like,
But
cool.
I felt like I needed to. And then Austin's like, sure, that sounds good.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm also in Ghostbusters mood. Let's hit it up.
It was really fun to watch with you, even though I still don't love it.
Yeah, I don't love it. Like, I think this movie's fine. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the first two, but
Well, and you know, I appreciated that you reminded me of our conversation from a few years ago because I was gonna say you like this movie a lot more than I do, but you have a lot of the same problems with it.
yeah,
Like,
no,
I think
I
we're
absolutely
nearly
do.
entirely in agreement on what works and what doesn't.
I just think the stuff that works for me works enough that it counteracts some of that stuff that doesn't work. Where I go, okay, like this movie has third act issues. A lot of movies that I like have third act issues. Whatever, it's fine. There's like a lot of reference stuff I don't like whatever. Like I like the characters well enough. I can look past it.
You know, it kind of has that Power Rangers 2017 thing, except it's a better movie than that in some ways. In some ways,
In what way?
um, it makes more sense than that movie. It doesn't feel like it's missing a whole, whole scenes. But this movie has the same thing that does in that, it's kind of just repeating stuff that we've done before, and because it basically just remakes the pilot of Mighty Morphin, but then what it does well is the new is the recreation of characters and kind of reinventing them and making new characters, and I like all the new characters in this.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what Force Awakens was too.
Say again.
And that's more of a remake of the first movie than this is, obviously.
Yes.
Like objectively.
Oh, you're talking about Force Awakens?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the entire movie. While this is like places in the third act.
Yeah, and like I really liked Force Awakens when it came out, and it's difficult to do this, but just putting them in a vacuum and forgetting what came after. I think that is, I probably technically like that movie better than this, but in some ways this is a better movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Those are hard things to compare.
Yeah, absolutely. What if Frozen Empire is the Last Jedi of Ghostbusters?
I'm more okay with that than I was with Star Wars. I think. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna have the cynical Luke Skywalker thing.
No. No, I don't think so either.
And that's one of the things that really turned me off. I don't know.
It'll be the opposite. It'll be like, we went too cynical and like glorifying how great these original characters are.
Yeah, at some point, Star Wars and Ghostbusters are just too dissimilar to compare like that as franchises.
Yeah. No, I just mean in terms of, because this is obviously like a Force Awakens situation.
Yeah. No, I think I'm okay with that. I think I could still really like that if it was more like Last Jedi. I think that's entirely possible.
Like, What's the bad guy's name? I learned it the other day. Garaka.
Oh, I'm gonna
Garaka.
remember that.
Well, I only remember that because it's close to Baraka from Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
He'll show up and be like, "Your mother's no one, mom from Ghostbusters," and then she'll be like, "Okay," and like that wasn't a thing. Who cares?
Yeah, there wasn't any big mystery set up in this first movie. Like you said, I mean, it weirdly feels almost like a standalone thing that's not, at least for the new characters.
Yeah, and Bill Murray will show up and he'll milk Slimer, and then he'll be like,
Dan's Den just made that joke.
Oh, he's drinking goat milk. That's way worse than drinking Slimer. At least one of them's ecto cooler.
I think, I don't know. I think directly drinking Slimer is somehow worse. That's kind of gross.
I don't know. I don't even know what ecto cooler tastes like. So I gotta find out.
Oh, have you never had that?
No, I've never seen it. Like that was a big thing when this movie was coming out. I was like, I can finally try ecto cooler, and then I never saw it.
Yeah, I thought they kept making it, but maybe not. I know they did a limited thing for 16, and that was popular enough. I thought maybe they brought it back and kept it, but
they did. Maybe it's just like because I'm in Canada. Like maybe it's just an issue with that. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe you can get it in bags.
My bagged Slimer. They should release them in traps.
Oh,
you
that
go
would
to
be
the store. You get one of these, and you're like, "How do I drink out of this?"
Well, they should sell cases like that where you can get like 12 in a trap. That'd be pretty cool.
You just buy the case, then you have to go out and find ecto cooler bottles to put in your trap, in your case.
This is getting really convoluted.
This is why it didn't catch on.
No, I like a lot of 80s and 90s kids. I had some of that when I was a kid.
Yeah, I know it was really popular. Look, what flavor popular. Is it even? Like I don't even know.
It's like a lime.
Oh, so I probably wouldn't even like it.
I think it's like a lime. I mean, I haven't had it since then, so it's been 25 or like 35 years or whatever. But
was it like soda or is it just like lime juice?
No, it's like Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah, okay. I probably wouldn't like it then.
I wouldn't like it now. I don't like Kool-Aid at all.
That's what I mean. I don't like Kool-Aid. So,
but I did when I was a kid.
I'll just have to keep imagining that ecto cooler is cool, and that's this one thing that I'll never get.
If you ever come here, we'll do a snackvolution, and we'll drink ecto cooler together.
And crystallized vodka.
I was gonna say we'll mix it with something. Well, although didn't Red Letter Media already do that?
They did, yeah. Okay. They mixed it with ecto cooler.
Okay, I'm not gonna bother filming that then. We'll just do it and not film it.
I'm glad that we brought this up. So, because it was when this movie was coming out. So, because you guys have the AMC ad with Nicole Kidman, right?
Oh, we have. I'm sorry, I missed all of that. What with Nicole Kidman? What are we talking about?
There's the AMC ad with Nicole Kidman, like post-COVID, where it's like, "Come back to theaters, like it's so good" or whatever, right?
Oh,
like,
I
always hear people complain about it.
I thought you said app, and I was so confused.
Oh no, ad.
You have that AMC app, right, with Nicole Kidman?
No, like the little ad in the movie theater. So in Canada we had Shang-Chi, and he was like, I love popcorn. Popcorn's so yummy. I'm so happy to be in the theater. And I was like, this sucks. I hate this so much. This guy's so annoying. And then I went to go see Ghostbusters Afterlife, and they swapped it out. They finally replaced it. And you know what they replaced it with?
What's that? Dan
Aykroyd sitting in a movie theater with a big bag of popcorn and a bottle of Crystal Head vodka. And he's like, let me tell you, I went to the movie theater with a girl and it did not work out. And I was like,
that's so weird.
Awesome. They don't even sell his vodka in the movie theater. We made sure to put it in the commercial.
That's spectacular. Awesome. I love how he's just synonymous with his vodka now. He's the only celebrity I can think of that has a like product that he's selling that has nothing to do with movies that people think of now when they think of him as much as his movies. You can't name one other person like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody listening to this, I implore you, go look up Dan Aykroyd's Cineplex commercial. It's so good.
That's really
I really hope they put out another one with him this year for
I will
Frozen.
definitely look at that. It's really funny that that's the thing you're looking forward to. It's like Ecto Cooler and Dan Aykroyd saying something crazy in the movie theater.
Him just selling his vodka in the middle of this. He doesn't even mention it. Like it's just on the
Just has
set of
it.
him.
He just carries it as a prop now. It's so synonymous with him.
Yeah, like it's something that clearly, like in his contract, he was like, "Okay, I'll do it, but my vodka has to be there."
Like I have this product plate. I don't think Afterlife has any product placement. I mean, besides like Walmart.
It's got Baskin Robbins in that Walmart.
Oh, that's
There's
true.
like a few things in there, but it goes by fast enough.
It's not in your face about it like 16 was.
The Terror Dog was eating Purina Dog Chow, I think. That was the brand it was
That's
eating.
that's all integrated well enough. And we've talked about this
Yeah.
ad nauseum, but like you want a little bit of that stuff in something set in present day because that's the world we live in. We're just inundated with products. But if it feels like a commercial, then you're taken out. And then but some people I think go way too far with it, where they're annoyed if they see anything they recognize because they know somebody paid for it. I'm like, there's some degree of that you should have.
Yeah. Well, I like with the Baskin Robbins thing.
It's just like the member berry thing, right? Where like there's a certain amount of that seems appropriate and relevant.
When you can have good product placement, we all
Yeah.
like the Burger King bid in Iron Man.
Oh yeah, I want an American cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
No, and I like because it's like Baskin Robbins everything, and then Paul Rudd takes his Baskin Robbins thing, and then he walks out, and then when he sees the Terror Dog, he smashes it in the head with it.
Yeah, that's all really well done.
Like that's funny.
I complimented that movie a lot more than I expected to.
You did. I expected this to be a lot more like I hate this movie. I hate everything about it, and I'm like, it's fine.
No, I had to give it when it's good. Well, it's nice to see. And this almost sounds like a backhanded compliment, but it's nice to see really competent filmmaking again in a blockbuster like this that's not like that doesn't have a super like overdone budget.
What it probably helps that Jason Reitman's like an indie kind of like alternative guy.
Yeah,
making movies like Juno, and now he's making Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't love the plotting, but it looks like a real movie.
Yeah,
and the action scenes are really well storyboarded.
They are. Yeah, they look really good.
Like, I know we were talking about how we might not necessarily want Ghostbusters to be an action franchise like that, but if it's going to be that, that's what it should look like. Like,
well, it's minimal. Like, it's not like it's the Ghostbusters licking their proton packs while they're doing flips.
Yeah, no, it could have been insane. For a lot of people, like the only great scene in that movie is the chase in the car, and that should have been the most obligatory scene, and it's really fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like it's not entirely the climax, and that we get like, we got to get away from Ghost, or we got to run away from the terror. They use the terror dogs a lot more in the action than the original does. They're kind of just there.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up, but I gotta make this last point that has nothing to do with anything. But before I could just say this to you off camera, but I guess I'll say it right now. You remember we were laughing at the Rick Moranis joke in the first movie where he's like, "Yes, have some," and he's got the colander on his head.
Yes.
Is it weird that Ghostbusters and Back to the Future made a year apart both have colander jokes?
Colander.
It's kind of weird.
There's something in the air, I guess.
Something's in the air in the mid '80s. We're putting colanders on our heads. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, no, I guess.
Anyway, that's my final point.
And Louis Tully needs to be in the new one.
Oh, he does. That's the one thing that I will freak out like a little girl in the theater if Rick Moranis shows up.
He'll show up and you'll be like, "I was a dog once and now I'm getting frozen." Ah!
I'll be a complete hypocrite and freak out about the fan service if that happens, because I just because he's coming out of retirement and he could be there.
Yeah, when I pitched to Cab a spin-off of Louis Tully and Slimer, where they just live together, And he
Yeah,
was
I don't
very
like that as
sober.
well as that other sitcom premise that we that we said Ray and
Podcast, right?
podcast.
Yeah, this one would be Lewis and Slimer.
Lewis and Slimer
Yeah,
podcasted Ray. They could be related shows that are on at the same time. You know, the Ghostbusters sitcom shared universe.
yeah, because one of them would just be like a podcast thing, where like you're watching like just the screen where it's them, and it can almost be more like a talk show where like they bring on guests and stuff.
Yeah, actually, it would
And
be almost better if the podcast show was a podcast.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, and then the Lewis Tully and Slimer one would just be like a very traditional, like they have an apartment together.
it's the Odd
Janos
Couple.
from Ghostbusters 2 is their crazy neighbor.
Yeah, it's the Odd Couple.
Exactly.
That sounds
They
great.
sleep in twin beds.
You know, we have way too much of this oversaturated content for streaming services, but I could almost get on board with Ghostbusters related sitcoms.
Oh, it's such a good idea.
I think that could work.
Get on it, Sony. You're constantly trying to find your big franchise.
Yeah,
We're pitching it.
I mean, you know, you've been paying those Ghost Corps people for years for no reason.
Yeah.
This is what you should be doing. Anyway, we're going to get going. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching and listening, and we hope to see you again next week with some more fun stuff here on Geekvolution. We're going to do Days of Future Past next Friday, if all goes according to plan, for the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project. That's our next commentary. Look forward to it, and we'll be reviewing the new Ghostbusters movie shortly after that comes out. Is that next week or the week after?
It is next week. Yeah, I'm thinking I might go see it on Thursday, if all things go well.
We will try to knock that out the week it comes out, then that Sunday, if we can put everybody together and do it. If not, it'll maybe be the week after, but I would really like to try to do that right away, if possible.
Definitely.
And people are going to give me crap for not doing Dune 2 yet, but I just haven't been able to get to a theater for 3 hours and watch the first one. This I can do, because I'm prepared now, so that'll only be a couple hours in theater. I can do that.
I don't know. What if it's a 4-hour Ghostbusters movie?
That'd
Then
be
you
crazy.
get frozen into the theater, and then you're stuck there.
Oh my god. Talk about meta.
And you get slimed.
Oh my god, I'm seeing Ghostbusters in 5D.
You slimed me, Jason. Yeah, I know, Dad. I'm right next to you. I saw.
I was also slimed.
I was also slimed.
Jason, can you believe that? I'm slimed. I know.
As
Anyway.
am I. And Rick Moranis is in your theater, but he's not in the movie.
I'm drinking Ecto Cooler. I am also drinking Ecto Cooler.
There's crystal vodka behind the counter. They crack it
Oh
out.
my god, there's marshmallows all over my face. There's also marshmallows all over my face.
Stop just narrating everything that happens. It's happening to all of us.
Yes, I can also hear the Ghostbusters theme. We're watching a Ghostbusters movie.
Yes, I can see that the ghost of Harold Ramis showed up in this movie theater before us. We can all see it.
We all walked right through the man.
You slimed us.
I too was sucked into a ghost trap. Anyway,
Oh no.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you later. I was Captain Logan. This was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Ooh.
Bye. Bye,
You gotta
folks.
flash that screen.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.